Hello and welcome to the WAN show. Oh wait, sorry, wrong one. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 369, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Anchor.fm. No, it's not Anchor.fm. It hasn't been for like a freaking year, yet I cannot get over saying that every time I do this. Over on Spotify, RIP Anchor FM, or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are right on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there.
Oh yeah, and one of the best communities on Discord. I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but
I'm certainly biased, but I fully agree with you.
Yes, I know. We may all be biased, but I am part of several communities, and this is the one that I participate in the most. And I see a lot of other people, several regulars participating the most.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's really, really fun. Well worth the $1 or plus.
Yeah, great bunch of people. It's fantastic. So get on the Discord, join the Patreon, get some behind the scenes stuff. I was sharing some projects that I'm working on. It has been kind of a long week. This is my third time getting sick this year since January. I have no idea why or how. And actually this time it wasn't just me. Like the first two times it was like I got the flu right before we went to Vegas. And then I got home and I was better, and then I got sick for like another weekend, and I'm like, well, this sucks. And now it's actually my son, my 3-year-old, apparently got RSV.
Oh gosh.
And so 2 ER trips and another doctor visit later, and a couple shots of steroids and stuff like that, and he's doing just fine.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But you know, when you see the pulse oximeter reading like 89 on a 3-year-old, you're like, oh
gosh.
Right. Yeah, you start to get a little terrified.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was planning on shooting a video on Monday. I woke up and I could barely even talk again, and it's like, this just sucks.
Yeah, that was me, because I was supposed to be on last week.
Yeah. And
the same thing happened to me. Come Wednesday, I could barely talk, and I couldn't do it. And I'm still kind of a little verklempt.
Yeah.
But it's much better now. And it doesn't help that it's extremely aridly dry right now. Like really aridly dry.
Yeah, it's abnormally dry for Oregon in the winter. And that should be all fixed tonight, supposedly.
Yes, we're supposed to have in our neck of the woods a winter storm.
Yeah.
I have it flashing all over the news channels right now. Winter storm warning. Dun,
yeah,
dun, dun.
It actually turned into an ice storm warning for where I'm at. And so this is what caused my basement to flood. Like 4 years ago. So I have a generator this time, and it's all pre-wired. All I have to do is walk out and crank it. And I started it a couple times today just to make sure we were all good.
Good.
But I've got enough fuel to run that thing for like 4 days. So
perfect.
I think we're all set this time. But
we're not getting close to apocalyptic levels. You don't have to like hold up your neighbors and steal their gas or go Mad Max on anybody yet.
Well, my generator's propane.
Okay.
Which is kind of nice. And actually, there's a refill station just at the bottom of the hill from me. And so,
not only that, propane tanks are way easier to steal than people's gas.
Right. Yeah, I can go, hey, you don't need to barbecue right now. Let me go hook that up.
Yeah. Right. I don't need that.
So yeah, no, we've got a generator. We're just fine. But yeah, it has been a week, and it's only Wednesday.
Yeah. No, I know. It's been quite a week. I've been busy all week because like I was sick last week, so I'm catching up now. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
So yes, I'm really looking forward to having a beer or 2 or 3 or 4.
Do I check the fuel and generator once a month just in case? During the winter, typically, yes, I'll start it at least once a month, make sure everything's still good. And I haven't actually done that in a couple of months because it's been actually unseasonably dry and not rainy and not snowy and things like that. And it's propane, so it's a little cleaner burning. There's a little less maintenance involved. I mean, there's still a carburetor on it. There's still things you need to, make sure are good, and oil's good and things like that. But
taste the meat, not the heat.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, for keeping warm, we have a fireplace. I've got a 7,000 watt generator. It's enough to keep our fridges going and our sump pumps working and things like that. So we should be all set.
Gotta keep those beers cold.
Yep. Anyway. Next week on Talking Heads, Jeff gets an STI. What in the world, Ian? Am I just catching everything now?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's going to be a good show. We're talking tonight the same thing we've been talking about since Ampere and the 12 volt high power cables are still catching fire.
Yeah.
And shockingly enough, when you pump 600 watts through one of those cables, it exacerbates the issue.
It's going to get hot.
We dive in.
That's right.
Just like every other outlet's doing. Let's see. We've got some potential price leaks for the Radeon 9070 and 9070 XT. We have a CEO of a free-to-play first-person shooter calling out Twitch streamers in a very odd way, but I also really like the accountability. Like I'm going to go a different direction than I think some people who read the story are. And Steam banning forced ad viewing on all games on the platform. So all fans of, a lot of point and click games or mobile style games and whatnot that force you to watch an ad so you can get more turns, those are no longer allowed on Steam.
Goodbye.
Yes. Yeah. That and probably some inane banter up on the show.
Yeah. As always.
For right now, let's go ahead and start the show. The only way we know how. Steve, what do you got on tap tonight?
All right. So today I have an IPA from Ghost Town Brewing called Malevolent IPA. I don't really know too much about this. It doesn't have the hop profile listed. It's a West Coast IPA, so it's not a hazy. But it's rated really high, so I'm looking forward to it. And my second beer, which is I'm kind of excited about this one because it's a style that we seldom see on the channel. And it's kind of poo-pooed, but I don't know. I'd like to see more of this style come in craft form. And this one's called Bottle Claws by Immersion Brewing Malt Liquor. So it's their malt liquor, craft malt liquor.
Oh boy.
Bottle Claws. I was hoping it'd be a little bit higher percentage. It's only 7%, which is kind of low for a malt liquor.
Right.
You want like 10% or higher or something like that.
Yeah.
But
if I have to taste it, don't let me feel feelings.
Yeah. I guess. But it says it's made with Cascadian mountain water. So it's fancy malt liquor. It's extremely fancy malt liquor.
With our glacial spring water generator.
Yeah. High class society malt liquor drinkers. So those are the two I have today.
Awesome. Well, I am decidedly fancier tonight.
Okay.
I've got a Toppling Goliath, which is always good. This is a collaboration between Toppling Goliath and Radiant Beer Company. This is the Radiant Haze IPA. This is one that I've been saving for quite a while in my fridge. Probably shouldn't have saved this for as long as I did. It got kind of kicked to the back of the fridge for a while.
Yeah, you never know with IPAs. If they sit around too long, it could get a little... The flavor could change a bit.
So, especially with hazies. And this has been in my fridge for like a year now.
Ooh, yeah. Who knows? We'll see.
We'll see. We'll
Uh-huh.
we'll see how this one goes. Hazy IPA with Citra, Mosaic, and Strata hops, which is always a great combination. And if that one goes sideways, I don't expect it to, but if it does, the second beer certainly will not, and that is the 2022 Herd of Turtles.
Oh yes, Herd of Turtles is great.
Yes.
And this has been aging for 3 years now.
3 years, yeah. This is from Shakopee Brewing, Shakopee Brew Hall in Shakopee, Minnesota. Thank you, Novella Hub, for this one, and a couple others that are still out in the fridge. But I saw this one and I went, ooh, that sounds really good tonight. On a night with an impending ice storm, yes.
Oh yeah, that's a nice cozy up to a bottle type of beer.
Yes, 10.2% Imperial Pastry Stout, J. Carver Bourbon Barrel Aged. So
get a snifter and cozy up to your generator.
Minnesota. So, Toppling Goliath, Radiant Beer Company, Radiant Haze. There we go. And I'm doing the Hops and Brews class tonight.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I don't know. Maybe they did already. Maybe Toppling Goliath and Great Notion do a collaboration. I would like to see that.
That would be a killer.
I would. I mean, they're in completely different states. Usually, breweries do collaborations with people fairly close by. But I've seen. You know, they're big enough brewers. They'll probably do it.
I'd also be curious to see a Toppling Goliath and Fort George collab.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe get them in on a three-way IPA.
That would be awesome.
Right?
They did, there was a three-way IPA they did a while, what they did with Great Notion.
Yes.
And that one I think was one of the better that they did. One of the better three-way IPAs. But, oh man, the aroma on this is just wonderful. Oh man, it smells so good. Piney and citrusy. It's like you want in an IPA.
They also renamed Ontario Lake, Minnesota. Or Lake Ontario to Lake Minnesota. On the Gulf, shouldn't we just call it the Bay of Pigs? Wouldn't that make the most sense?
Well, they have a Bay of Pigs already. Right? Yeah. They got Bay of Pigs.
Yeah. No, the Bay of Pigs was the Cuban exile thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Heat pump nerd style, just water cool a 5090 and put the radiator fans in the window. Yeah, basically. I mean, any heat exchanger is basically what you need to make a heat pump work.
Yep.
Yeah. The problem is when it's hotter outside than your GPU can offset, or because there has to be a temperature differential. That's what you're trying to introduce, and you introduce it either with refrigerant or with inductive heat to either raise or lower the temperature in certain zones, and to be able to push hotter or colder air. Watch the Technology Connections if you want to know how a heat pump works. But yeah, it is certainly possible to water cool your PC and put the radiator external to the PC and even external to your house. I know LTT famously built like a car radiator and hung it outside of their Langley house for
and they had it pumping it through that.
When they were trying to do the whole home water cooling. And they ran copper pipes on the walls and used the bathtub as a radiator and crap like that. Like all the things that you want to do and your wife says no. I have thought about, because I have basically an underground river beneath my house with an unlimited source of 55 degree water, 55 water, Fahrenheit water.
Yeah.
Of setting up literally just a passive loop system. So I tap off the water underneath my house and I just use that flow to cool a PC.
There you go. Thermal cooling your PC. The world's first thermally cooled PC.
Yeah, geothermal cooled PC.
Yeah, geothermal cooled.
Technology Connections. Did someone say latent heat of evaporization or evaporation? Uh, you have a dew point. Yeah, GPU doesn't add moisture to the air. That is true.
That's true.
All right.
What do you think of your beer?
We may have to punt this one.
As it really does, you think it's past its prime?
I think it's past its prime.
Oh,
It is.
It's too bad.
It's soured a bit. Let me.
No.
Yeah. Let me take another drink, just to make sure.
I gotta be certain. I gotta drink at least half of it before I'm sure.
No, I think I'm gonna soldier through for a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little piney and a little pineapple-y.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that combo just might have thrown me off ever so slightly. I think we're gonna soldier on.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you don't know if it's a bad beer or if it's just gone bad.
Yeah. Someone had water cooled or swamp cooler and whole rack cooling when. Actually, I have drawn up plans. Not only for a rack cooler, but potentially to augment my heat pump. My heat pump is actually undersized for my house and doesn't keep up. And it makes it does cool the house, but not to the level that you would expect. Also, my attic insulation is absolutely atrocious, but we've been working on saving up to put a new roof on, and when we put a new roof on, we're also going to take all the old insulation out and completely reblow it, it's not great. But because I have essentially an unlimited source of free water under my house that I could tap into and then just dump back into where it's going, I have looked at building essentially a swamp cooler. Or kind of like a bong cooler, where you put it outside, you mist it, and let it fall through the air, which will take most of its heat away. And so I could probably turn that 55 Fahrenheit water that's coming out of the ground into 40 Fahrenheit water. I then pump that through a couple of radiators that are in line with my heating system, or in line with my cooling system, and use that as a heat exchanger to take that 40-degree water and add that temperature differential to the air inside the house. I'm not sure the actual thermal density of doing that, like how much wattage I would be able to offset, but I don't need it to be the only cooling source. I just need it to augment the cooling source that's there.
Right. Just to amp up what you currently have.
So if I could spend 70 watts of electricity on a water pump and a couple other things, and $500 for a holding tank and some various plumbing parts and things like that, and offset, I don't know, 600 to 1,000 watts of heat energy out of the house and pump that directly outside, that's a win.
Yeah.
So I'm in South Carolina. It's 41. I'm in Oregon. This morning it was 21.
Yeah, it was very cold this
morning. And I know the people in Minnesota are laughing at us, but and I've been in single digits. I've been to 0 degrees. Like,
oh yeah, so have I.
It's not foreign to me, or even to us here. Like, it's not uncommon in the valley to get into the teens or the the very low teens, 12 degrees and things like that. It just doesn't happen very often, and it's not every day. Often,
and it's also, we usually have 0 precipitation, so it's just cold and clear. Is typically how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as we start getting cloud cover to get precipitation, to get the chance of snow, that blanket of clouds starts warming things up, and then we get no snow.
Yeah. Yeah. We live in a valley that's kind of sheltered, and whenever there's enough pressure to bring a system in that can actually drop precipitation, it also brings warm air with it, because that's how weather works. And so typically that warm air will push the cold air out of the valley. We have to get into it to get snow where we're at. we have to get in a situation where it gets very, very cold, and that cold air settles into the valley, and then the warm, wetter air comes over the top.
Yep.
And that doesn't happen but once every 3 to 5 years.
Yep. And then even when it does, we might get a foot of snow, maybe.
Yeah.
We're like lucky if we do.
Yeah. Although there was the year we got like 3 feet.
Which was like really rare.
That was interesting because we got it in 2 days.
I know. We got really dumped on. And when they say that people in Oregon do not know how to drive in the snow, that's because we hardly get it.
Right.
Here in the valley anyway.
Yeah.
And so they just don't know what they're doing. In fact, all those viral videos from a year ago where you see those cars going down the hill and bouncing off of other cars.
Yeah, that was Second Street. That was Second in Washington and Portland.
Yeah, that was Portland, yeah.
Yeah, and snow in Oregon is very different as well because it's typically very, very wet, because the way we get snow in the valley is it has to be hot, wet moisture that comes over the top of cool air. You get very wet, very thick snow, slushy-like snow when it happens. What that also means is when it hits the ground, it turns to ice. And ice is not snow. Like, driving in hard-packed snow, 1,000 times easier than driving on ice. Literally an ice rink.
Oh, yeah.
So. Yep.
Yeah.
And by hills, I mean mountains. Yeah. Also, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and start off talking about this whole thing again.
Yes.
Here's the RTX 5090, and there is that 12-volt high-power connector. It is an interesting little beastie. And also, can I just rant for a second? I'm going to rant for a second.
Go for it.
So, where's my 3090 at? There it is. Hold on. I'm going to grab the 3090 also.
All right.
One sec.
Well, you're grabbing the 3090. I'm going to grab some more beer and put it in my mouth. Hopefully it's not far. There you go.
So, here is the RTX 3090. And if you notice, the connector on it is a 2x6 12-volt high-power connector. It is only a 2x6. There's 12 pins in this connector. This was kind of the new age when they switched away from the 8-pin standard PCIe connector. And the advantage to this particular connector is it can deliver 450 watts over the single cable, or over the 12 pins.
Right.
However, if you don't plug this cable in all the way, the connector is, shall we say, a little bit dodgy. And it could pass more power over some pins than others. If your connection isn't
100%.
locked.
Yeah.
And the pins are so small, that's easier to happen than you might expect. And so some early cards like this, like the 3000 series cards from Ampere, met an unfortunate end.
Fiery end.
Now also, this connector is at a 40-degree angle, 45-degree angle to the card. And so the cable comes in this way.
Yeah.
The problem is, unless you train a cable, there's no real clean way to plug this in if the card is in your PC this way, because you're going to put strain on it one way or another. It's going to have to bend when it comes out. And if you can train the cable and tie it in place and things like that, then eventually it'll train itself and it'll sit like that. But if it has the weight of the cable on it, you're putting weight on that connector, and that could also cause
it to
some
pop out a little bit
and pop out a little bit and cause an issue. But this was NVIDIA's design when they first introduced the 2x6 connector. Well, they had so many issues with that connector that they revised the connector, or went with the other standard of connector. And this is all IEEE spec or ATX spec, ATX 3.0 spec. So this isn't necessarily just NVIDIA's design, but NVIDIA is implementing it. So this is the 4080 Super. Also shares the exact same PCB and design with the 4090. You'll notice this connector is completely perpendicular to the card. It's not sitting at an angle, and in fact, they rotated it 90 degrees. So now you plug it in, and the cable hangs down. Well, what manufacturers started to do to mitigate any strain on this cable is they started making 90-degree cables that were purpose-built for these cards. And so they would come up, they would plug in. It takes all of the weight and puts it on the 90-degree bend that is supposed to be in there for the connector instead of on the connecting pins themselves. And a lot of power supplies, because of that design, started shipping with 90-degree cables. In fact, my most recent power supply. Where is that? Is it in here? I think it's in here. We're gonna dig for parts while everyone's watching.
Oh, it's in there while you're talking. And,
Yeah,
and to be fair, I mean, even outside of just like less saggage and less strain on that connection, I think it's just more aesthetically pleasing when you have that 90-degree bend like that, so it looks more straight, looks more clean.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. I like the straight on connector. So yeah, this was the cable that was included in my Cooler Master power supply, and you can see it came with a right angle cable.
Yep.
Also, this cable is slightly different in that it is not strictly the 2x6 arrangement. There are 4 additional pins underneath the cable to ensure that it is seated properly. Those are to connect with the card itself, tell the user whether or not the cable is inserted, and basically provide sensing and security. So just in case this decides to go up. So kind of a nice design. However, for some reason, the cable that came with mine goes up
down.
instead of down.
Whoops.
Because a lot of third parties implemented with the retention clip on the top side. Well, NVIDIA oriented this with the clip on the bottom side. Because it's more attractive. Because they didn't want just like some piece of plastic sitting up on top that you grab with your thumb. They wanted to hide that. And so it's on the bottom. Which means this cable for this power supply or for this graphics card doesn't really work. You can use it in some circumstances if you have an ITX build or...
Right.
But, you know, even if you're doing like a vertical mount, this is how it would sit in your PC vertically, is it would come out towards the glass, not towards the PC.
Yeah, it's right in front of, it's right in front of your cooler almost.
So yeah, unless you still go with a straight cable design and you plug in, then I still don't like this solution from NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Now, we move on to the 5080 and the 5090, the all-new Founders Edition cards. They've again used the same 2x6 plus 4. So this is the second style of plug. But they again keyed it at a 45-degree angle. Does anyone see the problem with that?
Yeah, that's not going to fit.
I can't even fit the 90-degree cable in there if I wanted to use it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And so while a lot of third-party AIBs were putting the cable with the clip on top, NVIDIA with the clip on top, I can't use this cable. Nope. I can't use this cable. It doesn't even physically connect anymore. So I sourced a third-party cable. Now, the nice thing about the Cooler Master power supply that I'm using here, this is the Cooler Master SFX 1100 watt, 80 plus platinum. It is a beast of a little SFX power supply. The thing's this big. It's crazy. The nice thing about that particular power supply is it's the same plug on both ends. It's the same 2x6 plus 4 on both ends. And so you can use third-party replacement cables because it is technically a standard cable. So I found a third-party cable that was supposedly rated for 600 watts, and I've been using that. And it's been working fine. The problem is not all third-party cables are made alike. And
Nope.
I believe it was there was a custom cable. It wasn't Cable Mod, but it was another third-party cable manufacturer. Mod PCs, Mod something. That basically said this cable is different than what NVIDIA wants anyway, and not all 2x6 plus 4 cables are made alike. They're not made with the same gauge wiring. They're not made with the same things. And 600 watts is a lot of power to be pumping through this cable.
Yep.
As we pretty much have discovered. Now, why does this matter? Well, because here we are, 4.5 years after the launch of the 2x6 pin cable, and this is still happening.
Yeah.
Is it happening to all of them?
Nope.
No. But it is happening. And we're still talking about it. Mad Cats. It wasn't Mad Cats.
Mad Cats. Yeah.
Well, they're owned by Logitech now.
Are they now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For a number of years.
Hmm.
Mod DIY. Thank you. Yeah. Excessively Salty says Mod DIY. Yes, I believe it was Mod DIY. That they had a statement that came out about which third-party cables are okay to buy and which actual connector ends you need and things like that. And there was something about we don't recommend certain types or certain manufacturers of the ends themselves to be used. Why not just use a C13 cable like the memes? Well, amperage. I mean, Ian, you have more right to talk about material science than I do. But you know, it's not necessarily the voltage or the amount of power. It's the amperage. It's the current that generates heat as a byproduct. And because we're still on 12 volt, and because that's 600 watts, that's a lot of amperage.
Mm-hmm.
And cables don't like amperage, especially when you use thinner gauge cabling that was already on the 8-pin PCIe connector. Now, the 8-pin PCIe connector is technically only rated for 150 watts each. However, there's another cable that's inside PCs already that is rated for 300 watts at 12 volts. And it's your 8-pin EPS connector that goes to your motherboard.
Yeah.
To power your CPU. That cable already existed. NVIDIA uses that on their enterprise cards. But they wanted this sleek, sexy cable because it's one cable to plug in. But here's the thing, even on their lower end cards, it would still only be one cable to plug in if they just went EPS, and it'd be so much safer. I can't say it's never happened, but I've seen so many fewer reports of 8-pin PCIe and EPS failure. I've never seen an EPS failure. And I've seen maybe one or two PCIe failures over the years.
Yeah.
I've seen dozens upon dozens of these, though.
Fail. Yeah.
There's something wrong. Is it endemic? Is it to the point where we need to recall things? I don't think it's quite there. But after 4 years, you'd think it'd be fixed, and it's not.
Right.
It keeps happening.
I think it's just a case of over-engineering something, trying to overthink something.
I think it's they wanted the sexy single cable.
Right. Yeah. So the marketing is like, we want it down to one cable. So do this for us.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's the reason. And in theory, could this transport 600 watts? Yeah. I've used my 5090 for 60 plus hours at max draw, mind you. And I haven't had any issues. However, I also haven't taken my thermal camera to my 5090 power plug yet.
Just to see how hot it's getting.
And that is one thing that I want to test out. So in the article here, so this is PC Gamer, and they linked directly to Der Bauer's investigation of this. He is finding that some of the cables, some of the individual strands are seeing dramatically more current than others. And that happens because you have either a mismatch in length or a mismatch in conductivity. Now, typically, if you have bad conductivity in the plug, you would just get higher resistance. Yeah. And so the plug would start melting. However, we're seeing like the entire cable drawing too many amps off the power supply. And it could be something as simple as the routing of the cables inside the power supply to the cable are not the same length. And basic science tells us electricity takes the shortest path to ground.
Yeah, it sure does.
If all of your cables are basically the same length, then you'll have basically the same current flowing through them. However, if one is, I don't know, 2 inches longer than the other, especially when you're talking 30, 40 amps of current, it's going to travel through the shortest path. Some of the electricity will go over the longer path, but most of it's going to try to go to the shorter path. And Der Bauer was able to easily replicate sending most of the power over just 2 of the cables. And recorded cable temperatures of upwards of 140 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
And was measuring current in excess of 50 amps when it should be at 30 amps. So while not absolutely definitive, there's your problem. Bring back Molex. Actually, what's fun is
No.
EPS is a Molex standard. So yes, actually.
Is it really?
The Molex 4-pin is part of the Molex standard, but the EPS connector is actually technically still a Molex plug. It's a Molex type plug.
I still hate the Molex. It's the worst. It's the worst plug design I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, 150 degrees Celsius on the PSU side. Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's kind of insane that, again, we're 4.5 years in to this cable, or to this type of cable. Yeah, Molex is a brand name. Okay, yeah. Molex is overhated. I don't think the 4-pins are. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating that 3 generations of GPUs now, I've got all 3 of them sitting right here beside me, we're seeing fires, and not in a good way. And
I don't remember the 3090 being as widespread of an issue, because I do remember the 4090s. Don't know about the 3090s though.
Right, the 3090, it did happen, but the 3090 is only a 480 watt card, and or 450, and so as is the 5080. The 5080 is also only a 450 watt card, and so you're dealing with less inherent amperage and current, and so less likely to initiate a failure.
A little more easier to manage,
on the same cable, right? But you start pushing the limits of this cable. This is a rated 600 watt cable. We're seeing transient spikes of 640 watts, incidental spikes, but sustained load of, in my testing, 594 watts.
Getting right up to the line there.
Sustained load. That's a lot of current. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of heat being generated if you're not absolutely precise with how everything goes. And the problem with this cable is even the 2x6 plus 4 has a degree of user error with it that we didn't see with EPS and PCIe, or it was far less likely. The tolerance of this cable seems to be a lot less. There's less room for error when connecting this cable than there is with PCIe or EPS. 5090 owners, just power limit your cards. Set up 45 watt power limits or 75 watt power limits. Yeah, just let PCIe handle all the power. Yeah, JSU Sense saw over 630 watts sustained on third-party OC models. Yeah, I haven't reviewed any third-party 5090s yet. But yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me at all, given the little bit of OCing that I did on the 5080. So I've tested the 5080 Founders and the 5080 from Zotac, the solid OC. And I got about 9% sustained higher power. So trending to 470, 475 over the 450 watt Founders edition. So yeah. Yeah. I don't know yet that we have a complete smoking gun, but we're starting to learn more about this cable, more about the power supplies involved, more about the finicky connector itself, more about there's a video series that I've been toying with for a while that goes into I hesitate to call them PC myths, PC building myths, but I think that's the best way to phrase it. More of the question, is this good enough or is this okay? Because that's the number one phrase that I hear when I'm reading forum posts, on Build a PC or wherever, Reddit and everything else. Hey, I'm seeing my CPU hit 74 degrees Celsius. Is that okay? Hey, my 5090 or my 5080 is hitting 2.75 gigahertz. Is that good enough? Is that what's expected? Hey, I'm getting this frame rate. Is that good enough? And more to the point, talking about building a PC, you have to build with this CPU or in this configuration or in this orientation, talking about radiators and tubes up versus tubes down versus radiator at top so you're exhausting your hot air, or radiator on the front so you're sucking in cold air. What's the best? Questions like that is a graduated scale, is what it's called.
It very much is.
If your PC draws 150 watts at max load, you're running a Ryzen 5600 with a 65 watt TDP as your CPU, and you're running an RTX 3050 as a graphics card, you can expect your PC under max load, like benchmarking load, Furmark and Cinebench running at the same time, to draw 150 watts, and not a bit more. Do you know how easy it is to cool 150 watts with the overbuilt heat sinks and VRM and everything else that are on modern components?
It's pretty easy.
It's very, very easy. You could cool it by opening the case and blowing on it yourself, as long as you have a decent heat sink.
Just put a box fan next to it. You'll be fine.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Which means you could do everything wrong in that PC build, and that PC will still work fantastically well at optimum performance levels. Because it doesn't matter that your CPU is running at 82 degrees Celsius, because it's still going to boost to its max performance and still only draw 65 watts. And if it doesn't go any hotter than 82 degrees Celsius, you're fine.
You're fine. Yeah,
your graphics card, one of your fans could die on like an MSI, 3050, and that card will still run forever. It doesn't take much.
Oh yeah, I had that happen. Like my old 970, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I had one of my fans go out on that thing, and I didn't even know it for the longest time. Didn't even know it.
Yeah.
It just kept going.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fine. The
As long
temperatures
as
was
your
actually
heat
fine.
sink has the thermal mass and you have enough airflow to dissipate that heat load,
Yeah. Yep.
you're fine.
Oh yeah.
The conversation changes as you stair step up essentially the power load of your PC. The power that it's consuming and the heat output that it is putting. So let's say now you're running not a 65 watt TDP CPU. Let's say you're running a 13600K, and under full boost it'll hit 180 watts. That requires an order of magnitude more cooling.
Yep.
That requires an AIO that's running at pretty decent efficiency, or a really good tower cooler. Yep. Think a Dark Rock Pro 5 Elite. Think a Noctua NHU12. Think a Thermalright. One of their dual 120 towers. Like, that's a lot of heat energy in a very small area. And if something goes wrong, or if something is not optimal in that setup, it could cause some throttling. It could cause the CPU not to boost as high. It won't kill your CPU, but maybe you'll run at 4.7 instead of 5.2. Mm-hmm. It's costing you some performance. It absolutely is. Is your PC in danger still? No, but it could be better. Let's talk about graphics cards. Let's talk about stepping up from a 3050 to, something like 180 watt or 200 watt TDP card. You need to start thinking about orientation of your graphics cards, fans that are around your graphics cards, and where the waste heat from your graphics card is going. If you have an AIO and you don't have fans around your other components, like your VRM and your memory and things like that, and your brand new RTX 4080 Super is dumping heat directly into the pocket that your CPU sits in.
Oh yeah.
And you have no active cooling around that environment.
Yeah, it's gonna get hot very fast.
The heck with your CPU temperatures. I'm worried about your memory temperatures.
Yeah.
And your VRM.
Case. Mm-hmm.
You still need active cooling to whisk all that waste heat away and out of your system. So it doesn't soak the rest of your components. That's not a worry on a system that draws 140 watts from the wall at absolute peak load. That is a worry in a system that draws 200, and that's certainly a worry from a graphics card that pumps 600 watts of heat directly into your CPU cavity.
Yeah.
It's a sliding scale. It's a graduated scale of what is okay and what is not, and what you need to worry about as a system builder, and when you can get away with things that higher end components can't. It's a very complicated topic that I don't think could be done in a single video, but I don't know that I wanted to embark on like an 8-part series of, today we're going to test a 200 watt system, and then a 400 watt system, and then a 600 watt system, and then a Threadripper with this and that. Like, where do you step it up? And that's just talking about heat. There's other tangents to this style of story that could be related around CPU frequency and load and optimal load, balancing and things like that. And then you get into overclocking of different components, and it's a very interesting topic because the rules of PC building are not the same rules for everyone depending on where your budget's at and depending on what type of PC you're building.
Yeah, use cases vary. People who want small ITX cases are going to have different rules than people who have, giant towers.
The wires are catching fire because of too many amps. Upping the voltage lowers the amps. Yeah, there's been people talking about, upping to 24 or 48 volt inside of PCs. The problem is that would require a brand new standard that all manufacturers agree on. Because right now PCs run off 3.3, 5, and 12. And that is part of the ATX standard. This cable, believe it or not, is an ATX standard cable. It's part of the ATX 3.0 specification and can deliver up to 600 watts over this connector. That specification defines the length of the cable. and how many amps that cable is allowed to carry. That also goes into the power supply and how you rate the power supply and which plugs can handle which voltages and everything else. We would have to basically redo voltage delivery to certain components within the PC. Because right now we feed your motherboard 12 and 5 volts, and then your motherboard down converts 5 to 3.3 for some of its components. Your VRM handles 12 volt and down converts that to 3.3 and then 1.8 and then even further down to 1.2 or whatever your CPU needs at the moment. We can't just start feeding your CPU 48 volts and call it a day. And the graphics cards themselves would need to be completely re-engineered to accept 48 volts to then downclock them to the 1.2, 1.1 volt that is required for the logic of the GPU core itself.
Yeah.
How do you handle... Tell you what, I'll get even... I'll simplify this down to like a really, really basic level. I'm building temperature sensors.
Yes, you are.
I have my Axe Effect OpenViro temperature sensors that I am building
Time for
right
a plug.
now.
Time
Okay?
for a plug.
Time for a plug.
Yeah.
We'll be releasing these hopefully in the beginning of March. There will be a pre-order campaign that will go live hopefully at the beginning of March. I'm just waiting on my validated boards to come in. I am fighting something similar right now. Speaking about voltage translation, because you can't just feed a graphics card 48 volts and then downsample that to 1.1 volts or whatever it needs, and not deal with repercussions of that. The reason we feed 12 is really easy to resample into 5 and 3, and then from 3 to 1, which is what modern components use. I am building a PoE powered device, which means I have to support 24 and 57 volts over PoE. I'm also using a Raspberry Pi Pico, an RP2040 system on chip, with components that also live off of 3.3 volts. I have to onboard transform upwards of 60 volts down to 3.3 logic, so I can power my RP2040 and my sensors. Do you know what the waste product of that is for a product that consumes less than 1 watt of power?
Oh yeah,
Something that consumes in the order of milliwatts of power. Like I think my board, when I am like actively trying to pull data from it, is something like 4 milliwatt or 400 milliwatt. So 0.4 watts. Do you know what the downside effect of that is? That generates heat because I'm down converting 60 volts down to 5, down to 3.3.
And that energy's got to go somewhere.
And it wasn't a lot of energy. Like, we're talking about, 400 millivolts is all I'm drawing from the circuit. That was enough to raise the internal temperature of my device by upwards of 7 degrees Celsius.
Man, and that could change how the sensor reads,
which invalidated my sensor.
Correct.
And we couldn't solve that problem internally. Now, I had already wanted to create a box that had 2 remote probes, one for the front of the rack, one for the rear of the rack. But that was going to be at a later date. I wanted to create a device that was just a device with a temperature sensor on the front of it, integrated, because that's a lower cost solution to do it. So you mount that device on the front of your rack, and then I have a cable going to the back of the rack for a secondary probe if you wanted rear of rack temperature, right? We couldn't keep the internal temps down to a level, nor could we isolate the heat within the device without going with active cooling. But the problem is we're at such an early stage as a company for manufacturing, adding complexity to the assembly is also kind of off the table if I want to hit budget for things. And so we opted to go with 2 remote sensors to avoid the temperature differential entirely.
And the internal temperatures, yeah.
Is 7 degrees Celsius? No, 7 degrees is not nearly enough to, and that
it's not going to kill your components or anything like that.
No,
but it's going to screw up your sensors. Yeah,
it's going to screw up the sensors, and so. But that's me on my level dealing with 400 milliwatt. What is that when you're dealing with 600 watts?
Oh yeah,
600
exponentially harder.
And you're DC to DC converting 48 volts down to 1.1. You know how much lost energy that is just in the conversion process?
That's got to go somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, your cable survives now.
Yeah.
But why are you solving this problem? We know how to fix this problem already, and it's use a different fucking cable. Use cables that were already there, that are already plentiful.
Worked. Yeah.
That are already work within the spec that you wanted. 2 EPS cables get you 600 watts. We know that. That's why Threadripper and Epic exist. This should not be this difficult. But NVIDIA wanted the pretty cable.
Yes, that's solution. What it was. Marketing is getting involved in designing. That's what it is.
And now things are still catching on fire 4.5 years later.
Yeah.
So the problem is bigger than, just increase the voltage. And I'm not, I want to be clear, I'm not picking on whoever said just increase to 48 volts, because I've heard that solution a number of times before. Okay, but that's just kicking the stone down to someone else's street. It's literally just kicking the can down to some other department that now has to deal with, it's still 600 watts. And now we're, we don't have to deal with it at the connector level, but now we have to deal with it on the PCB. That's not where I want to convert 600 watts of energy from 48 volts down to 1.1. It's not where I want to be doing that.
You want your heat sink like 10 times bigger?
Right.
A lot more fans? Right?
Yeah. So, yeah. Not as easy as it sounds. Cosworth chimes in with $5. Thank you so much. When you say voltage translation problems, are you referring to someone speaking French and then using the metric system? Yes. Oui. Yeah. Lost in translation. Cheese chimes in with $5. Thank you so much, Cheese. A lot of MOSFETs that are on GPUs and motherboards support 24 volts, so the move to 24 volt wouldn't be so hard. You are correct. We would need to revalidate. Like there'd be 6 months of engineering to revalidate to make sure that everything works. Let alone setting the standard of now we're going to start delivering 24 volt. That also means you're completely dropping all backwards compatibility moving forward. Which may not be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, cables are cheap.
But it's also kind of a big deal because I can still plug a modern power supply into the first revision 20-pin ATX boards, and that board will fire up. No problems whatsoever. Modern power supplies, my SFX power supply. Still ships with one cable that has 4-pin Molex on it.
Oh, yeah.
1100 watt SFX power supply from Cooler Master. Still ships with a Molex cable.
Just in case.
Some of them still ship with 4-pin floppy cables.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Just in case. You never know.
Would it be the biggest deal in the world to finally cut off that? No. But the problem is, you would also be wreaking havoc on a lot of companies that rely on those connectors, maybe not necessarily in the PC space. There are sectors of companies that keep Commodore 64s alive for use on their train systems. Looking at you, City of San Francisco, BART Transport. There are sectors that need to keep 486s alive, industrial boards and PCs, and old hard drives and old floppy drives alive for vital infrastructure, because the cost of replacing is in the millions or billions. And keeping old technology alive that is purpose built, spec built, is way easier than retrofitting. So yeah, 24 volt would be an easier conversion. You're absolutely correct, Cheese. And that would have the amperage on this cable. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. And maybe we keep motherboards at 12 volt spec and we start building power supplies that also have a 24 volt rail. Maybe that's the solution moving forward. But higher DC to DC conversion is still more heat though. And so there is going to be some loss in the process. It's not going to be as efficient on the graphics card side. Maybe that means more cooling. Maybe that means less boost clock because you don't have as much power actually available to the GPU. But either way, it's an interesting problem, and I'm glad it's not mine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think NVIDIA's got enough clout that they can...
And Circuit Rewind says, no, it won't, missing the negative rail old computers used. Yes, you are correct. There was a negative 3.3 on very, very first generation. But to be fair, I think you're talking about old ATX boards that could also use AT power supplies.
That's going way back then. That's going way, way back.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's an interesting problem, and it's a very deep problem. The easiest solution, though, just use EPS cables. They're already there.
Yeah, I know.
They're the same pins and wires you're already using. It's a different keyed connector that is already existing on power supplies, and in fact is dual rated on most power supplies to deliver 300 watts through a single cable, because power supply manufacturers years ago said, why are we delivering 12 volts over two different standards? Why don't we just allow anyone to plug in an EPS or a PCIe to any header on our power supplies?
Doesn't matter,
and it'll supply whatever it needs.
Yep.
Why didn't we just do that?
Yep. I don't know.
Why? Gosh, it's so frustrating. But here we are. So let's reinvent power supplies and voltage delivery on PCs that has existed for the last 30 years, because I'll just say it, Jensen wanted a single cable instead of two.
Probably, yeah.
I bet that's what this all boils down to, is some NVIDIA executive saying, we're going to use this cable because, damn, that's a sexy looking cable. That is way better than 2 or 3 connectors hanging out.
Oh, yeah. Well, and of course, you got people who are like, I know how to build a PC, this real rudimentary. And they're like, it'd be so much nicer if I could do one cable instead of 2, and not really knowing the ramifications for that.
Just going to say it. AMD cards ain't catching fire, are they?
No, they're not. Video card sexy time. That's right.
Yep. This beer turned out a lot better than my first thought.
It's growing on you, isn't it?
I don't think it's bad.
Okay.
My first sip did really take me for a loop. Like, ooh, that's not flavor expecting. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
But no, as I'm digging into this,
let me ask you this: what's the ABV on it?
7.2. It's not super high.
So it's a little on the high. Okay. At least you get halfway, you get a little bit of a buzz, and then the flavor doesn't matter so much anymore.
Yeah.
That's how it is with some beers I've had before in the past, where it's like, oh, I really don't like that, but then you drink it, it's like, I'm starting to feel pretty good. I'll keep drinking it.
Yeah. No, this is a very piney hoppy, and like I said, also a very pineapple forward citrus. It's not the orange or the fatter citrus flavors.
Yeah.
It's the lime and pineapple citrus that are a little bit bitey and a
A
little
little
bit
more stringent.
sour and a little puckering.
Yeah.
And that combined with, you know, you read hazy IPA, East Coast, you know, toppling
Mhm.
Goliath. Were they Iowa? Yeah,
I can't
Iowa.
remember.
Yeah, Decorah, Iowa. You read more of a Midwest towards East Coast hazy IPA, and you go, oh, you know, juice bomb, like,
Yeah, big
and
old,
that,
big tropical juicy notes. Yeah.
no, I got straight up like Great Notion haze
Mm-hmm.
levels of piney,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't expecting that
Right.
because this isn't a Great Notion beer, but
So it's kind of a mix of a hazy and a Northwest IPA.
mhm.
Hazy with the Northwest type of style hops.
Yeah, no, this is Heady Topper haze
Mm,
meets Great Notion pine.
there you go.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a combo that I don't think I've had before.
Well,
So
it's unique beers. I mean, like, I have to say, hazies do get stale after a while. Like
mhm.
there was a point like maybe a year and a half ago where I was just getting so sick of them because they all tasted the same.
Yes,
They were good. They all tasted good, but they all tasted the same.
Yeah.
And then lately, because of new hop strains and stuff like that, I'm getting a little bit different fun flavors out of them. But yeah, like a couple years ago, it was getting a little stale.
Yeah. You get that same hop profile, that same acid burn, the same,
Mhm.
you know, yeah. Hazy's got very, very repetitive very quickly.
Mhm.
And some of them figured it out. I still occasionally get what I'll call an old school hazy,
Mhm.
because it's been 10 years now.
Yeah.
But that, you know, they haven't modernized. They haven't figured out how to
Right,
get
right.
the flavor with the
Mhm.
enjoyment. Because
Yeah.
the early hazies, the reason they were so good and so popular so quickly is the flavor is amazing. But the problem is I drink more than 4 ounces and I am
You guys
done.
are like, ooh, yeah,
'Cause
your,
I
your
can't
throat is
breathe
just like
anymore.
screaming. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they kind of figured that out, and everybody else figured it out, and then all the flavors got to be the same.
Yeah.
Now the flavors are starting to vary a little bit.
Do I remember the Surly Dumpster Fire 2020? I do remember that beer. I remember having that beer. I don't think I can tell you anything about it.
Did I have that one? The Surly Dumpster Fire.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar to me too.
Yeah, I do remember having it. I don't remember it well enough to remember what it was. Yeah, Ian's up at 3 a.m. Like I was wondering if you were stateside because you were here. Because you know, this is usually the 4 hours a night that you sleep. I was wondering why you were on early in the show.
Because he's had 4 or 5 beers already.
Mhm. Yeah. But Ian, Cheese, appreciate you both being here.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate everyone being here. Actually, this has been fun so far.
The hour just flew by.
Novella Hub said it. I said it was the best hazy I've ever had. Okay, then.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I did not have it.
Okay.
At least I didn't check. At least I didn't check it in.
Well, then you didn't have it.
I guess not. I mean, usually I do. Okay, it's a smoked beer too.
Okay.
So it's a smoked beer. It's a smoked IPA, that's interesting. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, do I open the beer first? Because I'm right there. Where are you at with your beer?
Oh, I just finished mine like just a couple seconds ago.
Well, excellent. Let's go ahead and crack open the second one, and then we will jump into the 9070 AMD
Sure.
talks.
Absolutely. Yep. So I'm gonna try my malt liquor. I don't have a paper bag to drink this with, so I'm just gonna have to go the regular glass route.
Who is that one by again?
I think it's by Immersion.
Immersion Brewing
Immersion.
malt liquor.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it is a craft malt liquor.
Bottle Claws malt liquor Immersion. Oh man, it smells like a malt liquor too. It
Of
smells
course it does, Steve.
super sweet and malty. Oh, you know what? I actually kind of like this. It's pretty good.
That does
I
not
have to
surprise
say,
me at all, honestly.
it is the sweetest, maltiest beer I've had in a while. It's kind of almost encroaching on like a tripel, a Belgian tripel, but without those banana esters that you kind of get in the
Yeah.
tripels. It's kind of got that sweetness to it, but
Yeah.
more of like just a normal malt flavor, malt profile.
Yeah. So I'm going on a full Midwest tour.
Okay.
We're going from Iowa to Shakopee, Minnesota. This is the 2022 Herd of Turtles Bourbon Barrel Aged Pastry Stout.
Wonderfulness, yes.
Yes. I've had a number of these over the years. Oh, man. That's German chocolate cake.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what you want from those type of pastry stouts. And thick. You can see the viscosity.
Not quite as thick as you might think.
No?
No, it's... Yeah. It's not super thick.
Oh, I was at John's place, and we broke out. It was a really high ABV. I want to say it's like a 14 or 15%, really high. And it wasn't very thick. It was actually quite thin. And it was a pastry stout too. And I was kind of surprised by that. I mean, it tasted fine. It was just it kind of threw me back because usually those high ABV pastry stouts are just very thick, like coat your throat type of thick. And this one wasn't. I mean, it still tasted good, but it's just a lot more thin.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this one, it's not as thick as you might expect a bourbon barrel pastry stout to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to be a little bit thinner body-wise.
Mm. Sometimes it can be dangerous because it goes down easier. It goes down faster. Terrible, right?
What you just said.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When it's thinner like that, you could chug it if you wanted to.
It's not clingy. It's not thick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes the higher ABV stouts, you get into like the 13%ers and they pour like used motor oil.
Yeah.
You have to sip them because you literally can't swallow it.
Yeah, you'll choke.
You'll choke on it yourself. Gosh, how do I describe this one? This has the body of an Irish red.
Mm.
And no thicker than that.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe like a little bit of a malty brown, but it is not
just slightly thicker than a normal stout.
Maybe ever so like slightly thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for a stout, super thin body.
Interesting.
Which is weird.
But that's weird, yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say even like non-barrel aged stouts, like I would say this may be a thinner body than Black Butte Porter.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is interesting. Oh, speaking of that, somebody posted, it was on the Discord, and I think it was on 10 Forward.
Mm-hmm.
There was I'm scrolling back up, and it looked like something I wanted badly. It was the Black Butte Squared, the Black Butte.
Mm.
That looked a 13.6% Black Butte Porter.
Yes, we need to find that. Whoever finds that, you buy me a 6-pack. Whoever.
I need that in my life.
Yeah.
Because I think we've had this discussion before, because Black Butte Porter was like one of my gateway beers into craft beers.
Yes.
So to get like a 13.6%, that's got to be like that's got to be in my wheelhouse right there. It's going to be something wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Black Butte Porter is a freaking wonderful beer. It's a lot of people's entry point into darker beers. Little roasty, little coffee, little chocolate.
Delicious.
Yeah. But not too much in any way. Jason says he's having a Black Butte Porter right now.
Yeah.
Well, then you're drinking a thicker beer than I am.
Oh man, I'm just looking it up right now. So that Black Butte cubed
Yeah.
is got a 4.43 rating.
I was thinking it was going to be up there.
Yeah,
That's still a bit shocking.
that's pretty high. Granted, there's only like 36 check-ins so far.
Yeah.
It just got released, so I know it's not that high, but oh man,
The first person to find that wherever it's at,
yeah,
we buy the rest of the group a 6-pack. Like, that beer has to be shared.
I don't know where they're selling it. Okay, let me see here, because here's a picture of somebody with a bottle of it.
I'm going to go check a bottle shop tomorrow because I need to find that.
Because I see people checking them in, and it looks like they're at the Deschutes Brewery in Bend.
Okay.
So maybe they're only selling them bottles of it at the brewery. I'm not too sure.
Well, unfortunately, we have a snowstorm coming in tonight. Otherwise, I'd say I might just drive to Bend tomorrow.
Go to Bend and get one. Yeah. I'm looking at the check-ins. Yeah, at Deschutes Brewery tasting room.
It's been a while since I've done a beer vlog.
Yeah, you haven't done that since like I think your first year.
Yeah, we did a couple of them the first year. John and I did the Portland Brewers Fest, Oregon Brewers Fest,
which is RIP Portland Brewers Fest.
Yeah, we did that, and then we also did one where we went to a cellar beer closeout. At
that was in Eugene, I think.
Corvallis Homebrewer Supply. Okay. That shop once every 6 months. Sorry, throughout the years they will buy beers, and then they'll just put them in the cellar.
Yeah.
And then once every 6 months they'll open the cellar and they'll bring up like a pallet of beer, and they sell it at the price they buy it at.
Yeah.
It's not like marked up because it's 3, 4, 5 years barrel aged or shelf aged. They go, no, this 2018 Narwhal, yeah, $12.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of when we went to PDX Land, one of our favorite places to go to when we're at PDX Land. There's a pizza joint that we go to.
Yeah.
One, because they're open late. The pizza's really good, and they sell by the slice, and they serve beer.
Yes.
Perfect place to go to. So we typically go there every time we go to PDX Land.
But
they also have...
Is that Bigfoot Pizza? What's the name of that?
Sasquatch.
Thirsty Sasquatch. There it is.
Yeah. But they also have a small cooler of beers that you can... bottled beers.
Yeah.
And they had like 2018, 2019 Firestone Palabras that are going for like $12.
Yeah.
Which is like, dude, that's a great deal.
If you watched the show last week... I opened my Trip in the Woods that I just bought from Sasquatch.
Okay.
Yeah, I opened that bottle last Wednesday.
Yeah.
On the show.
Extremely crazy, reasonable prices.
Yeah.
It's like, that was a good deal.
Cosworth says he thinks he needs to send Steve a package of Steel Reserve. If you're enjoying that malt liquor so much.
Oh yeah, I could just go walk down the street and get some Steel Reserve. There's like a convenience store right down the street that's got some. But no, this I've had Steel Reserve before. Not that I'm proud of it, but I have had it before. This tastes way better than that.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say.
I am enjoying the herd of turtles, but we've got some AMD RDNA 4 news.
Mm-hmm.
Yay, the leaks keep coming very, very slowly. So if you watched our post-CES coverage, and even I think during our CES show that Steve and I did in Vegas, we talked very briefly about the RX 9070 and how in AMD's slides, the 9070 was present, and then suddenly they just didn't talk about it.
No, they barely briefly touched on it.
Yeah, in fact, we even got a couple AIBs to show us some 9070 cards. And I think we can disclose that because it was in their booths, so it wasn't like behind closed doors.
Right.
But we saw a couple 9070s at CES, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, we're not launching that. Like, okay. We did not have this confirmed, or we didn't even ask the question retail pricing around the 9070 because AMD didn't announce it. They didn't launch it. But we heard some rumors in the weeks that followed that AMD was looking at an $899 retail price for the 9070 XT. And part of the reason that, or the theory to why they may have pulled the announcement is they got a little scared because NVIDIA launched the 5080 at $1,000.
Yes.
They might have been expecting another $1,200 card. And maybe thought at $900 they wouldn't be competing. So that's the theory. Who knows what the actual story is? I think some of the story is going to come to light when we finally get a benchmark, the 9070, against whatever its competition ends up being, because at this point, I don't even know where to place this card as far as where it's supposed to line up.
Yeah, because it's if this rumor is true, it's more expensive than the 5070
and the 5070 Ti. 5070 Ti is $749.
Yeah. So you would think that it's going to be in competition with the 5080 because it's at a cheaper price, right? So you would expect the performance to be somewhere in between.
Yeah,
you would hope anyway.
But the 9070 name implies they're aiming for 70 series performance. 70 series performance is now $549. Like, NVIDIA lowered the price, and maybe that's where AMD got really, really gun shy at the last second. So we've all been in the dark. Reviewers, analysts, whatever. We've been in the dark as far as all of this goes. But we may have just gotten a brief glimpse of pricing. Thanks to a Canadian retailer who actually posted a number of models. Maybe accidentally. This is according to Video Cards. They had a number of Power Color and XFX cards listed up on their website. For the 9070, ranging from maybe $599. There, so $840 Canadian,
right?
Which converts to about $585. So maybe $599 MSRP, maybe $549 is where they're aiming, somewhere in that $550 to $600 price range. And then the XT model aiming for what looks like $699 or 1,000 Canadian. And obviously there's some models that are higher up than that. Including $168 premium on the Red Devil, which seems like a lot, but at the same time, that's where AIBs for NVIDIA are landing as well at, 5080 going for $999 for the founders, and then $1149 or $1299 or even higher. I think there's a couple out there that are $1399 that are $1,400, 40% higher than the Founders Edition card, which is just ridiculous. Potentially we're looking at, I'm going to round this one down, the 586. I'm going to round that down to 549 because that feels more accurate.
Competitive.
Yeah. Especially with the 5070 launching at 549.
Yeah.
I don't think AMD is going to launch a 9070 at $50 more expensive.
Right.
I don't think that works out for them unless it is also markedly more performant. But again, we have this is a new architecture for AMD. This is RDNA 4. We don't know where this is going to land performance-wise.
And they talked almost nothing about it. At CES.
We don't have specs. We don't have shader counts. All we have is memory. That's all we got.
So they're keeping this under wraps, like pretty tightly. So we don't know. But just the pricing kind of gives us an idea a little bit.
Yeah. So pricing and performance, maybe somewhere around a 5070 is where they're aiming for. I've also heard rumors this week that they're potentially launching an 80 class card as well. I saw something in the rumor mill that There might be like $1,000 80 series card coming later. But for right now, it looks like maybe 550, maybe 600, somewhere in that range for the 9070. And then trending closer to 700 for the XT model. So yet again, AMD launching 2 cards that will probably be almost identical in performance to what NVIDIA is launching at the same price point, but segmenting themselves by only $100.
Yeah.
In one of the worst marketing moves of all time that AMD somehow keeps repeating.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, AMD, we're getting our asses kicked by the GTX 1080 Ti and now the 2080 Ti. What's our response going to be? I know. We'll launch the Vega 50, we'll launch the Vega 64 at the same price, at $599. Oh, can it beat the 1080 Ti?
No.
No. It's close, but it also draws twice as much power. Okay, well, certainly you have a more efficient card that you could sell at, $399, $299, $199, compete with the rest of NVIDIA's stack. Yeah, we're going to sell the Vega 56 for $50 less. That also doesn't compete with the other card.
Yeah.
Time after time after time, AMD pulls this move, and I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
I don't get it.
I mean, yeah.
But it has HBM, Jeff. I know it has HBM. It doesn't matter if your core is not fast enough to use it, though.
I don't understand how they can be so competitive against Intel in their processor space, but be not that great.
And
not
constantly fumble the ball when it comes to
rating.
Which is a sad statement to make because the 7900 XTX, amazing card for $1,000, or at least it was up until, literally 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, AMD, it's either always an engineering failure or a marketing failure or both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They always have one wing of their department that just completely fumbles.
Yeah. They're not quite knocking it out of the park. They're bunting every time.
Yeah. As I've said a couple of times, I think in private conversations with some people, I think I've even told Ian this. Every time AMD has a chance to go for a jugular, to go, we will be the dominant player in this space for this generation. Even like small segments. But, like with Zen, they've had multiple opportunities that with Zen 2 with pricing. But they tried to price themselves too competitively with Intel. And while they were matching Intel as far as performance goes, people still trusted Intel more than they did AMD. And it's like, man, AMD, take $30 off your price across the board, and you'll sell 4 times as many of these. You're so close. You're so close. And it feels like the reason that Zen finally won is actually because Intel tripped over their own feet, not necessarily because AMD forced it. Like that's my gut reaction to it.
Yeah.
And same thing in the server space is AMD or Intel just became non-competitive in the server space.
Right.
And while I'm really anxious to see where Xeon 6 and whatnot lands within the server space, 256 cores, 512 threads in a server. I have that server in my garage. I've enjoyed tinkering with it. I thought the video that I did on it was fantastic, showing like some of the raw performance that you get out of this thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And then AMD comes and drops Turin and goes, oh, by the way, we're going to do 5.5 gigahertz boost. Like AMD finally pulled the jugular on Intel and CPUs.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Radeon, man, they just constantly can't. And I've never understood why.
Yes, the GPU architecture and developing it is probably way different than processors. You got a whole different thing that's going on.
Yep.
Intel has perfected it, or not Intel, I'm sorry, NVIDIA. They're not, NVIDIA is not really making, CPUs, right? So they can focus more on one thing, perfect it, dominate the market with it.
Yep. Yeah, the Radeon 7 was 2019. And that was the first 7 nanometer product that AMD launched. Definitely the first 7 nanometer GPU. And it was Vega that was shrunk down to 7 nanometer. It was the Vega 64 shrunk down to 7 nanometer. In fact, no, you can't see it. Dang it. Hold on.
There you go. There you go.
Radeon 7.
There's right there. There it is, right there.
I have one.
Yeah.
I actually bought that a couple of years ago. I think I spent like $330 on it because to me, the Radeon 7 is one of the most beautiful graphics cards that's ever been built. I love just like the raw brushed aluminum shroud on it. It's just gorgeous.
Good looking card.
Yeah. New AMD CPU numbers came out today. 35% revenue in server CPU, 27% in client. Table in Discord.
Oh, he put it on talking in the...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's got some AMD stock.
This is not financial advice.
Not at all. I said hope. I hope.
Yeah. So yeah, in the server market, they're taking 35% revenue share. Although you might note that Intel also just dropped the price of Xeon 6 across the board by 30%, which means Intel didn't think that they were selling well enough. So Novella Hub says shelf queen for Jeff. Unfortunately, the Radeon 7 I think was always destined to be a shelf queen for me. I wanted to use it in a system, but by the time I finally bought one, and then I did do a couple benchmarks with it. It's like, man, this thing is Vega through and through. Where it's good, it's like 1080 Ti levels of good in a world of, at the time, like mid-generation Ampere was out, and
so it's like too little, too late.
A 37 just wipes the freaking floor with a Radeon 7.
Too little, too late.
Or 3070, I meant to say. So it's like I wanted to use it, but it's like I didn't have a use for a 270 watt 1080 Ti.
Yeah.
So it's a 16 gig HBM2 card that it now sits on my shelf. And yes, I feel bad because hardware, just like cars deserve to be driven. Hardware deserves to be used. But it's really pretty up there. I mean, right next to it, I've got a Tesla V100 32 gig that I have done some testing on, but I keep meaning to get it back into my server, and I just haven't had the time to do it. But that is on the list, is V100 vGPU testing. Radeon Vega Frontier Edition. Oh, I love the blue shroud. The blue Vega Frontier Edition was so freaking good too. But I am a little partial to the raw brushed aluminum, the silver on the Radeon 7.
I mean, I just like the raw brushed aluminum look altogether.
Yeah.
I still got my old Cooler Master wave case that's all brushed aluminum. Yeah. I'm never getting rid of that thing. It just I may never use it again. It just looks good.
Yep. I've owned 4 or 5 different Mac Pros. And I'm talking like the 2006 through 2012, the cheese grater Mac Pros.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everyone's one of those.
Yeah. I think I've owned 5 of those throughout the years. Including in, is it 2012? I think it was 2012. So in 2012, someone got on Craigslist and sold a 2010 dual CPU Mac Pro. And I bought that for $1,200.
Ooh.
That's a crazy deal. That's a stupid deal, because that PC was $3,800
Yeah.
from Apple.
Yeah.
And in 2012, you could go buy brand new Westmere chips for it. And so I bought a pair of 5690s and had dual 6-core. So I had 12 cores, 24 threads. God, that thing was fire. God, it was so good. Do I have a cheese grater? I don't have a cheese grater Mac Pro anymore. If you're asking about a cheese grater, I do have a cheese grater.
Like a normal one.
Yeah. But no, I still have a 2013 Mac Pro. I have a trash can Mac Pro out in my garage. But no cheese graters left.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see where the 9070 XT lands.
Right. Well, they're supposed to be released in March, I believe. So we'll find out then.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get some benchmarks a little bit before release date, but
we'll see. We'll see if any leak.
Yeah.
Always interesting.
So not too far away.
Yeah.
I think they're supposed to be rumored to release in March, right? Let me double check that. AMD rumor to unveil. No, that's March. Yeah, the 9070 XT release window is March 2025. When in March? I don't know. We'll see.
Ian just said he wants one of the Cerberus server front panels.
Oh, really?
I agree.
Oh, oh man.
Yeah.
That's like one of those like one of those eye mirage pictures where you kind of look at and stare at it for a while and it changes into a picture, like a 3D picture. That's what those look like.
Well, it's got the triangle mesh that expands towards the side into a tessellated, random geometric shape.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Looks like some kind of like plant cell structure or something like that.
Ian, I'm really surprised you don't want a Cerberus die though. Like I thought that was more your alley. I mean, that's a 4-course meal for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We do have a little bit of gaming news.
A little bit.
This one's interesting, and I have a slightly interesting take with this one.
Okay, I didn't hear about this at all, so this is the first time I'm actually hearing about this.
I actually only read this story maybe like 3 or 4 hours before before the show, and I think it's interesting because it does touch a little bit on like tech media. As well as like company interactions. Like I talked a little bit of shop last week. I don't know if you saw that, like my interaction with companies and things like that.
I think I was sick, so I didn't see it. I went to bed early.
CEO of free-to-play first-person shooter Operation Harsh Doorstep, which is a military combat shooter, threatens content creators with legal action. Usually not a great headline if you're a CEO. Usually... ooh, he's talking out his ass. He's threatening, copyright infringement because they don't love his game, or he's going to DMCA him.
Yeah.
It's usually something like that, right?
Yeah, that's usually what you expect from something like that. Yeah.
The CEO, I don't remember his name. CEO of developer Drakeling Labs. also known as the content creator Blue Drake, has posted a threat, a legal threat to any content creator who doesn't disclose being paid by competitors.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
Mm-hmm. So is he saying that there's competitors that are paying them to badmouth his game?
That are paying them to stream their games.
Oh.
Which does happen.
Yes.
And if you are being paid to play a game,
you should disclose it.
It should be disclosed because that's sponsored content.
That is technically pretty much what you would normally do when someone sends you a product. They sent you this product for free. This is the same thing.
Right.
Instead of, okay, that's different than, I guess, this game is already for free and I'm paying you to play it.
Right.
Which is basically the same thing, but not the same thing, but it should be the same thing. Absolutely the same. It should absolutely be the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, we look, I work with companies all the time, and I will say I'm not 100% certain in every video that I have ever stated, thank you to this company for sending this over. I have a standard disclosure.
Right.
That is, if this is a product review, no money changed hands.
Right.
If this is a sponsored video or a sponsored inclusion, I've never taken money to include a product in a video. Right. What I do for sponsored videos is what I call product showcases.
Right.
If you want to advertise your product, I'll advertise your product. I'll find a use case and I'll do something with it, or I'll demonstrate using it. But those are also very, very, very specific languages that I use for doing that. And I've done 5-6 sponsored videos ever on the channel. Like, it's not something I do a lot of. And when it comes to game streaming, though, there is a market for a company to pay a streamer to play their game. Right. Because if someone sees you playing that game as a streamer, they may be enticed to play it themselves, buy it themselves, become part of the in-game market, buy microtransactions, etc., etc. Linus says, hold my beer. No, that's probably the other way around. But I mean, just semantics wise, but but if you receive money to do a service online, whether or not you think it's advertisement, that becomes advertisement. That is technically advertisement under basically any Western law. Yeah. US, UK, Canada, etc. And so, yeah, if I'm paid to show something on my channel, that's an advertisement.
Right.
If you're paid to play a game and you stream that on a platform that is your own, you stream it on your own channel, that's an advertisement. Whether you think it is or not.
Okay, it is technically, but if you paid for it yourself and you like the game genuinely,
then I'm not being paid by the company.
They're not being paid by the company. That's totally fine. Right. Absolutely. But if you're being paid by the company, same thing when people like, oh, thanks Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. It should be the exact same thing.
Right.
I mean, in fact, because it's a streaming session, I think there should be like a marquee at the bottom saying that it's being sponsored by blah, blah, blah. Because
totally.
People jump into the middle of streams all the time. And if they just briefly mention it at the top of the stream, most of the people that are watching are not going to know that that's the case.
Right.
It should literally be something that is like a marquee, like something at the bottom that's scrolling saying, this is sponsored by blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. The definition of defining sponsored content is it has to be present in a way that the average viewer can't miss it.
Right.
That means on a Twitter post, you can't post 20 posts like in a thread and then the bottom one be hashtag sponsored.
Yeah.
You have to post that in the first one. Yeah. So no one who goes into the thread could have possibly missed that this is a sponsored post.
Right.
I can't accept money to demonstrate a product from a company without disclosing they gave me the product and they gave me money. Now, the easiest way to do that is I see a lot of makers do this, and you see this on car shows all the time. I'm a huge was a huge Motor Trend fan. Discovery. But you see this with car shows all the time, where if you're watching Roadkill, you'll see, Freiberger and Finnegan take apart a car and like, hey, we're replacing this with EBC brakes today, or they get the perfect shot of the Duralast battery going into the car. At the end of the episode, and at the beginning of the episode, there are splash screens that Roadkill is sponsored by Duralast and EBC brakes.
Yep.
And get all the parts you see on Roadkill at jegs.com. That's a sponsor. And they provided parts that they used in these builds. I've seen maker channels do the same kind of thing. Like, I wanted to design this, and so I thought about this for a while, so I sat down on CAD. And by the way, today's video is sponsored by SketchUp. And so I sat down and we got into SketchUp and we started doing this, or, Fusion 360 or whatever the CAD program is. Like, they do a whole bunch of them. But that's an organic integration, and it's easy to just say today's video is sponsored by this, and we're going to use their program to do this.
Right.
I've done that a couple of times for things. Like, if it's not a product review, but the product was still sent to me and I'm using that for a build. Hey, huge shout out to this company for sending me the hard drives in this server build, or for suiting over the CPU for me to use in this video. It's not that difficult to include, because in the organic form of the content, it's really hard for the viewer to miss that. But in a live 2, 3, 4 hour live stream,
that's kind of hard.
Where I tune in and you don't have an outro page,
right,
that says today's stream was sponsored by blah blah blah,
right,
and you don't disclose it at the top of your video, and it's not in your video description, and it's not in your title, you're flirting with disaster.
I know that with like Twitch, especially with Twitch TV. I can't speak for like streaming on YouTube or anything like that, but I know with Twitch TV, you can create plugins that will float over the top of your stream and stuff that will do stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And for something like this, yes, this is sponsored by blah blah blah. That would be fine. You don't have to sit in there and mention it. You don't have to like modify. Just have that plugin that says it's being sponsored by so and so. That's okay. But I think they're definitely skirting around a lot of things with the stream. Even if they did, like you said, at the very top of the stream, and it's a 4 or 5 hour stream, whatever, even at the top or even at the bottom, if they say, oh yeah, we're sponsored by it, and they just have like a 15-second blurb, the people that tuned in the middle and tuned out are not going to know that. They're never going to know that. So like something constantly on the screen would, I think, fix that.
Yeah, if the sponsor is unrelated to the content, that's just a mid-roll. Right. You go, You go, let's take a break and thank today's sponsor, blah, blah, blah. Shadow Legends, whatever it is. Now back to me building server stuff.
That's totally fine, yeah.
Right, because that's an ad break.
Right. When the content is 100% dedicated to that, and you're making it look like it isn't, and you're getting paid to make it look like it isn't.
Right.
That's
literally the definition of advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sponsored by viewers like you. Yes.
It's like the modern version of infomercials that made it look like it was like a talk show or something like that.
Right.
And they're totally pushing some kind of product. Right.
Today we're talking about something that all of us go through, our skincare routines in the morning.
Yeah.
Isn't that right,
Yeah.
girls? Yeah, we've gathered like 7 people here to talk about their totally organic, not sponsored experience in using this one product that solved everything they do day to day.
Yeah. The Ron Popeil said it and forget it. Rotisserie.
I'm gonna seal his mouth with Flex Seal. QVC, but tech.
Yeah. That's basically what it is. Well,
that's
not tech.
Basically just QVC.
Yeah, QVC for video games is what it is.
Server wow.
Yeah.
There's a good sticker.
Server wow.
Yeah. Totally here for the craft computing skincare routine episode.
That's what you got to do with the axe effect instead of like the what's the sticky tape where he just like slaps it on the thing.
Flex Seal.
The Flex Seal. Yeah, you just got to do that with the axe effects. It's like, check the temperature. Slap. There it is. It'll monitor the temperatures for you.
Yep. Yeah, Jeff earned that coin. Well, if you want me to earn some coin, today's video is brought to you by viewers like you and craftcomputing.store. Go over to the merch store. Buy some merch, won't you? We've got pint glasses, we've got whiskey stones, scotch glasses, flasks, coasters, minimalist wallets. These are actually some of my favorites that we do because how much is a Ridge wallet? Like $80?
Is it really that much? I have no idea.
It can be. Ridge at one point sponsored me. And I will admit I daily drove a Ridge wallet for a number of years after they sponsored me because it's a darn good wallet. But there's some third-party makers of wallets out there that you can wholesale for a lot cheaper that are basically the same materials.
Oh no, yeah, Ridge wallet's like $150, dude.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Instead, I make my own wallets, and so go buy a wallet because mine are awesome, including my favorite. What if Maurice Moss was in Pulp Fiction? What would his wallet say?
Bad mother flipper.
Bad mother flipper. Yeah. We gonna have a mother flipping problem? Yeah.
Well, that was Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
I'm a mother flipping. You're a mother flipping.
Well, also Maurice Moss in IT Crowd would they did a Scared Straight episode where Moss went to prison and have to mother flip and kill someone. Craft, get Linus to get Framework to sponsor us. You know, he knows you better. Like, should I email him and then CC you? Like, I mean, Linus and I talk occasionally, but he didn't he didn't try to get me to move. That's what I'll say. Jeff, why haven't you gotten one of those sweet Bamboo Lab printers yet?
He got one. It's there.
What, that? Oh, this old thing? This old thing that I bought myself. I do have a P1S. So I actually need to reach out to Bamboo Labs because I want them to sponsor a couple of printers because I need to build a small print farm. I would love to get a couple of X1Cs to start cranking out some parts for OpenViro, my temp sensor that's coming out next week.
There you go.
Because I still need to figure out manufacturing on piece of the case. So, Oftinfinity says, just saw a Pip-Boy. Yes, you did.
Oh, did that get sent to you or did you print that? Because I saw that picture too, and I was wondering.
I may have bought myself something nice last year that just showed up. The Fallout TV show replica Pip-Boy.
Oh, nice.
That is all self-contained. It's not like a Bluetooth connection to your phone and an app that's running or anything. It's an SBC inside of here.
Cool.
that has sound effects and visuals and things from the show. Has a working FM radio in it, so you can actually listen to the radio on this, which is useless but freaking cool.
Yeah. You just got to find a station that plays "I'll Set the World on Fire" 24/7.
Yeah. It does have a micro SD card in here, and you can add your own music. So
oh, there you go.
This is totally going to be loaded up with. I have a full Fallout playlist.
Yeah.
So, fun story is. Set that back over there. Those who know me know that throughout the year, or specifically October, I'm not just craft computing. I'm also a general manager for a haunted house. And have been for 20 years now. It's
been a long time. Yeah,
long time commitment. A family friend of mine owns a haunted house here in Oregon, and I originally worked at the haunted house as an actor, and then kind of became like a sub manager, and I also did a small photo business there for like 10 years, where we took pictures of you inside the house, Disneyland style, and then sold you the pictures outside of the house. I did that whole setup, and then I wound that business down, and then became just I became one of the haunt managers, and now I'm the general manager for the whole facility while we're operating, which is really fun because I train all the actors and I make sure we run and whatnot. But I also, during the off season, build props for him. And one of the props that I built was, we did a zombie apocalypse one year. And we needed some music to play in a room through an old timey like wood, wood console radio that could be interrupted at any point by an emergency broadcast. So what
War
better
the World style? Yeah.
What better music to play through an old timey radio than the Fallout 4 soundtrack and the Fallout 3 soundtrack? So I just downloaded the soundtracks, totally not licensed, by the way, and put them onto the console. And we only used that effect for like 2 years, but put them onto the console. And so I'd walk through the haunted house, and then I don't want to set the world. I'm like, yes, that's
there we go.
and then at any point, the person who's operating the scare could press a button on the recliner that they were sitting in, and the radio would turn into an emergency broadcast, and the zombies have broken containment, and
this is an emergency broadcast system.
Yeah, it was an old timey radio broadcast, and Zone 3 is overrun by zombies. And,
please take shelter.
Yeah. Yeah. Martial law has been declared. Yeah. That kind of thing. But no, I built that whole prop and effect for him. So the Pip-Boy is also a USB keyboard. It's a terrible keyboard with only a few keys, but it does work. Yes. You can use it as a console control for your computer.
Really?
So you have up, down, left, right, space, enter, and tab, which is what you need to... The reason they did that is so you can operate the Pip-Boy in Fallout 4.
Oh, so once you have it, you can swap and then just go and then go back to.
So you can bring up yours and use that as a controller for your Pip-Boy in Fallout 4.
Ah, that's pretty good. Does it work on like 4 and 76 or?
I think it does. I think it's the same controls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's fun. It's super cool. I spent way too much on it. It was $200. But it is metal. It's not like 3D printed or anything like it. It's a metal recreation, and it's made by the same company that made the Pip-Boys for the Fallout TV show.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And so they actually had their prop team engineer a consumer version.
Okay.
Based on the same shells. Some minor differences, but they're the exact same design, exact same size.
Yeah.
And then they reworked the entire internal electronics. And in fact, some of the prop versions or the recreations ended up being used for extras in the show as well.
Cool.
Because it's a standalone thing that's just a USB-C charger, and that looks the part, that you can put whatever display on it you want. So yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. I don't know that I recommend buying it, but at the same time, you don't buy props for the practicality of them.
Right.
So, yeah.
Which, bummer news is like season 2 of Fallout isn't coming out till next year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sucks.
Yep.
Because I really enjoyed the first season. I thought it was really good.
Yep. You know what else is great though? Our tumblers. We have
Absolutely.
we have coffee tumblers, and the reason this is on my desk is I used this morning, and they're absolutely fantastic. Double wall, vacuum insulated. And if you didn't know, all of my merch is made in-house and designed in-house by me, and it's made to order. So if you order a coffee mug on Tuesday, I go out to my garage on Thursday and I cut it on my laser cutter, and then put it in a box and ship it to you. Like, it's a glorified Etsy store, but it's a damn good Etsy store.
Yeah, it's a personal Etsy store.
Yeah.
Do you still do the water bottles too?
I don't do the water bottles anymore. I think I need to bring them back. I never actually sold that water bottle.
You never did.
That's the 32 ouncer. No.
Yes.
Yeah. So
this is great. I use this every day, and it's wonderful. It's the best water bottle I've ever had.
Yeah. No, I've hold it up again, because you were just slightly off camera. There you go. So yeah. Yeah. I've been looking at.
My son put an Able Taker sticker on it. Still appropriate though. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine.
But yeah, no, I've looked at possibly bringing back some water bottles. They'd be expensive because they take a long time to cut, one at a time. But you know, still fairly competitive with, you know. I don't consider myself a competitor to LTT Store or anything like that, but if you look, you do have to fall somewhere in the ballpark of pricing. I feel. My water bottles I'd probably sell for $40 or $50. I think their water bottles start at 30 and go to 40. So it's like, I'd be
worth it.
I'd be right in there with that pricing. I did have a design of water bottles that I sold on the Patreon. Rest assured, if you bought a Patreon water bottle, that exact design will never be used again. Although I do really like the circuit style design that I ended up using. And so a lot of the elements that are on the water bottle will probably be reused in some fashion, but yeah. And all my products have unique designs to them as well. It's not like I'm slapping the same design on every single thing that comes around. The pint glass is different than the hip flask is different than everything else. You know, I do have a design language that I like to stick to, but everything is a unique item. So
and so since Jeff prints it out himself, he will rub it on his chest before he ships it to you.
Yeah. If you want, I mean, they cost $5 extra, but
just a little.
For 10, I'll do it shirtless. For 50, I'll put bath water in the water bottles for you.
There you go.
Any future plans to make desk mats? I've thought about it. I don't know. I don't do enough volume on the store right now for it to make sense for me to seek out third-party manufacturing. Just from a purely business and economic standpoint. So maybe eventually. The reason I can do the store that I have right now with the quality merch that I do have is because everything I do is designed and made in-house. And so I can source my own products, I can do my own QC, and sell pretty good products at what I think are very, very reasonable prices. But the desk mats would have to be a sourced product. Right. And so that would also be something that I would have to buy in bulk and keep back stock of. And so even a small run of desk mats, I'd probably be looking at, you know, a $2,000 to $3,000 upfront cost to do it. Then I'd have to proof them and everything else, and then keep them on hand, and so whereas right now I buy pint glasses and then I cut them one at a time because I cut two different versions of pint glasses, one for Hops and Brews and one for myself.
Yep.
For the tumblers, I have two different designs, but one coffee tumbler that I carry. For stone coasters, I have one stone coaster that I buy from one manufacturer that I really, really like. That's been very consistent. And then I cut like 5 different designs of stone coasters. Same with the whiskey stones. I cut 2 different designs of whiskey stones. So it reduces the amount of backstock that I have to have on hand, and allows it to be a print on demand style service. So eventually, maybe I'd like to get into desk mats. I'd also like to get into t-shirts, but We talked about this last week. Getting into t-shirts is also prohibitively expensive, although it is something that I would like to eventually get into, but I would do it myself.
Yeah,
whether I do my own screen printing or my own
that's
DTF.
a whole new set of equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. Desk mats sound like a Patreon special. I don't even know that it would be at this point. I mean, maybe. I haven't done a lot of research around OEMs for desk mats. Because it's not that complicated. It's screen printing and or vinyl on a sheet of neoprene. Like, it's not that complicated. But what would I sell them for, and what does my profit margin need to be for it to make sense? And who handles the logistics? My favorite thing about running small business: who handles the logistics?
The logistics, yeah.
of buying, selling, receiving, shipping. So there's a whole aspect of that goes into it. And yeah, if I make $300 on desk mats, but I miss out on a $3,000 sponsored video or $1,000 pre-roll because I didn't film a video that week, that's still a net loss for the company.
Jeff, you know what's really hot right now are those like storefront logistic games where like you're running a card trading company or whatever, where you go in and you're stocking the shelves, you're doing logistics. You should have some German company create you a craft computing logistics simulator. Just put that out on Steam right there.
I think they already do. I think it's called Factorio.
What? Create your own craft computing designs.
Has the Beerinator arrived yet? It has not. Although I do have a meeting with 45 Drives sometime next week. Specifically with their marketing team for an unrelated project, but I will certainly be asking where the hell is my Beerinator. How much is 32 ounce in milliliters? It's almost exactly 1 liter. It's 0.94 liters or something like that. 33.6 ounce, I believe, is 1 liter, if my metric conversion is accurate. So yeah. Buy LTT shirt blanks and then do your own screen printing. No, I'd buy the Dead Pixel one just to spite them. I'd buy the LTT Dead Pixel shirt and then put my own logo over the top of it. Next week, Jeff pivots to being a VTuber and filming mukbang reaction videos. No, that's for the second channel. Oh, it will be the third channel, because I do technically have a second channel, and the second channel is technically monetized. But I need to figure out if I'm going to continue doing the second channel, because I haven't posted anything in well over a year to that. We tried to use it as a clips channel, and it never really took off. Even trying to play the thumbnail algorithm and clickbait titles and things like that, simply on doing the live show, like, hey, let's take some of our spiciest moments of Talking Heads and condense them down to 6-minute shorts or 6-minute clips, and play them. Like that. On there. I never got any traction. I did get some traction off of a couple of bespoke videos that I did, and Rhett did a fantastic History of Morrowind Part 1. I'm still on him to do his History of Morrowind Part 2. And where are we at with OpenMW and the modding scene and whatnot?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even touch on that.
No,
Rhett, where the hell are you at? The people want to know, man. Yeah, bring back Craft Extra.
All 10 of them are clamoring.
Craft Extra will come back when I get a better handle on the throughput of content production. If it ever needs to come back. It may not. Because if I go to producing bespoke videos, I'm just going to produce them on Craft Computing. Because I've established Craft Computing as a channel that is very, very multifaceted. In that, do you realize I have a video with over 100,000 views talking about a counterfeit Game Boy Advance cartridge?
Yeah, that works.
And I have equally as successful videos talking about home lab stuff and consumer PC builds and whatnot.
It's so weird what takes off and what doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's like just however the YouTube algorithm works.
Yeah, so while I think depending on how niche-y you get as a YouTuber, a second channel and a third channel totally makes sense to go like, I don't want to like break my algorithm or things like that. I don't think YouTube knows what to make of me. And that's kind of by design. I don't want to be massive, although to pat myself on the back, 360,000 subscribers is no small feat,
not bad.
especially when I started. But I don't know that my channel necessarily needs to be broken into different pieces. Maybe as I get bigger, but at the same time, if it's still just me writing and producing and being on-screen talent,
right? Doesn't you don't need to splinter yourself. You don't think I need to splinter myself.
Right?
Yeah.
LGR in the 86 build video. I've got a couple retro PC builds on my channel. I've got two of them. I've got one that was a failed project that I was trying to turn a beige thin client into a gaming PC, and it was that close to working.
Didn't work.
But again, talking about like heat transfer and creating a vacuum of heat inside of a system when you try to do too much out of it. I took a 25 watt thin client and I increased the draw to about 35 or 40 watts. And internally the temperature got too high and I started frying components.
Oh gosh.
It worked at 25 watts. It did not work at 40. Because I tried to do too much with it. So I lost a video card in that process, and I shorted something else, and I don't remember what that was. So I went back and revisited a retro PC and tried to build a modern retro PC. And while the video that made it to air, I think was a decent example, I've actually completely rebuilt that PC off air and built a full Windows XP machine that I absolutely love. And still boot up to this day. And is it retro? No, it's got an Ivy Bridge i7 and a GT740, but it's some of the last hardware that was ever supported by Windows XP. That was able to screw
Windows XP, yeah.
Which means anything that wants to run on Windows XP runs at like 300 FPS on this rig.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's a PC that's this big. It's a little tiny ITX.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I love it. It's a great little box.
Speaking of loving, I have to go lovingly use the restroom. I'll be right
back. Craft Computing. What about Craft Logistics, where you talk primarily shop and manufacturing and shipping and inventory management? I hate you. Number one. I want you to know I flat out hate you. I hate everything about... I don't even know what your face looks like, and I hate your face. No. I don't know if that would ever make good content or not. But I have thought about producing a video. How do I produce merch? Because I think people would be interested. And I enjoy talking about it here on Talking Heads in a format that is just kind of a, hey, let's shoot the breeze and see where this conversation goes. I don't mind talking shop. I'm kind of an open book as far as everything goes. Yeah, I do want to expand my logistics reach simply because I want to diversify my income away from YouTube. And that is part of the reason for starting OpenViro, starting the temp sensors, doing the merch store. And I never want to be reliant on people seeing my videos to make money. And I know Linus has talked about this. In fact, over the last couple of WAN shows, Linus talked about, like, for years there was this existential dread of one day YouTube's going to stop the monetization system, or they're going to delist his channel or no longer recommend it. And how does Linus, the size of LMG, survive a transition into a post-YouTube world? And he goes, we made so many business decisions based off that existential fear that at this point, they're confident they could survive. They would have to trim fat, but they're confident they could survive. Craft computing would die in the water. Would flat out die. And the problem is, if YouTube demonetizes my channel or no longer recommends videos or goes to a system in which only late night talk show hosts get a platform on YouTube that is actively recommended,
Right.
I don't have a big enough following to monetize. And the reason being is only 1% of you will ever monetize. Like that's my trend. My monetization rate to Patreon subscriber rate is 0.5%.
Yeah, it's not great. No.
Now, that 0.5% on Patreon is some months close to 1/3 of my total income. So Patreon matters. It's the reason I push it at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
And I hope to build merch to that same point as well. I would love to do more merch sales. And I think I'm to a point I need to revamp my store. I need to come out with some new designs and some new products and refresh it, because it's been 18 months. I've been building up an inventory for 18 months, but now it's time to refresh and turn those first-time buyers into second-time buyers.
Need some new fresh ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe the same, raw things, but a new face on an old product.
Right.
Well,
you got the stockpile of the raw product. You just need some new designs.
Right. And so let's take my Nonic pint glass and let's get rid of the code rain and let's do something else with it. Let's revamp it for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Let's add a couple new products to the list. Let's decommission a couple old ones that aren't selling as well. Let's continue monetizing and turning people who view into people who buy. My job is a YouTuber and hardware reviewer, and if I get into an Uber and people ask what I do for a living, I'm a tech writer. I write consumer reports for PC hardware, specifically around servers and infrastructure and things like that, because that's a statement that you can make that doesn't have a lot of follow-up questions. Unfortunately, some people are smart enough to go, "Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?" Yes.
Yeah.
Steve, you experienced this in Vegas a couple times when we were in Uber.
Oh yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yes.
It was so funny. So Steve and I got picked up, I think, from the Palazzo, and we were just going back to our hotel, the Venetian. We got picked up from the Venetian, and there was a guy who was already in the pickup, the Uber line, who like answered our call immediately and went like, "Yeah, ready to pick up." Like, I hit yes, confirm, and then 20 seconds later he's like, "Hi," and I went, "Okay, cool." And so we went and got in his car, and we're driving back to our hotel, and so he was going, "Oh, what are you driving there for?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're in town for CES." "Oh, cool. What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a tech writer." And he goes, "Oh, that's really cool. Like, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I write consumer reviews for PC hardware, server space, consumer space, buyer's guides, that kind of thing." And he goes, "Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?" And I went, yeah, I do. And he goes, "Oh, that's really funny, because I just dropped off a couple that also had a YouTube channel." And I went, "Who was it?" And he goes, "Oh, it was some girl and her husband and whatnot, and they have a YouTube channel and they do a lot of like graphics card reviews and things like that." And I said, "Yeah, that's the same space. Who was it?" And he goes, "I don't know, but she had pink hair." And I went, "You picked up Brittany and her husband. You picked up Tesseract, didn't you?" And he goes, "It had to have been." And I went, yeah, I only know one other graphics card reviewer who also has pink hair.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, we got in the Uber right after Tesseract got out of the car.
Same driver too.
Like within 30 seconds of each other. It wasn't Tech Testers, but no, it was Tesseract. Although we did see Tech Testers? No, it wasn't Tech Test. But I did see. Gosh, what's his name? She wasn't there, but her husband was.
Oh, Mbiki, they do they're from
Holland.
Sweden or some
Holland.
Holland,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. His name's Tanya, I think. No, what's her
No.
name? Gosh, yeah, she's really nice.
Yeah.
Yes, and they do a lot of video card stuff too.
God, I feel so bad because I know his name. I've corresponded
Yes,
with him a number of times, and
yes,
I'm flat out drawing a blank, mainly because this beer is really good. So
yes.
I'm sure he will understand.
Yeah, we ran into him. He was super nice. Yeah, his
Yeah,
wife was, and she's the one that does the YouTube stuff.
yeah,
He does all the behind the scenes stuff.
yeah.
Um,
No, it wasn't Tech Testers because yeah, I've spent a number of hours with them. In fact, I taught them how to gamble. I taught them how to use slot machines.
yes, that's right. They had no idea how slot machines worked. I remember that. That was the first time we went to CES.
That was so much fun.
And they were like, how does this work? And I'm like, just hit the button.
You're like, well, first you gotta crush, and then you put it in your mouth and you light it,
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
you put $5 in the machine.
Yep. Oh, where was it? Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
I think I have them on my YouTube. I'm looking at it too.
God dang, I feel so bad because I forget. But yeah, no, Tech Testers. No, we did run into him at or her husband at CES. But no, it was Tech Tesseract. They're out of Carolina, I want to say. And it's Brittany, and she has like bright pink hair.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't Brett. I know Brett. I know UFD. And Brett has no hair right now. Like, he shaves it once a year. Wasn't Nerd Forge? We did run into finally Nick and Clara from Gear Seekers. I finally got to meet them in person. That was freaking
I saw Gear
fantastic.
Seekers. We saw Gear Seekers. Yeah.
Yeah. First time we've ever been at an event together, but I've known Nick and Clara for 5-6 years, like corresponding over the internet and things like that.
They're from Australia, though.
Australia,
right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, anyway, I forget.
Anyway, buy some merch, won't you?
Buy some merch, yeah.
Buy some merch. I haven't sold any hip flasks lately, like, and that's why I think I need to refresh the store. Is my hip flasks were like one of my #1 sellers. Like, I would sell like 8 of those a week,
and then all of a sudden,
suddenly I'm not selling any. So it tells me my potential buyer's market has bought all the flasks that they want, and they need a new design.
Yeah.
So, I need to get inspired, and I need to come up with a new design. A new design language, because a lot of my initial language has been circuit design. That's what I built that's what I did my original water bottles out of, and my original pint glass. I've got a similar design on my coasters. So here's my circuit design coasters. And then we also did it on the hip flask. And then I also had to do some Matrix inspired stuff. So I've got Code Rain, because as one does. But there's hidden messages in the Code Rain. You can see blonde spelled out right there. In 3 sequential lines, I have blonde, brunette, redhead in the code. And it's great. Because I don't even see the code anymore.
That's right.
Yeah. I've got my floppy coasters. I sell 3 or 4 packs of these a week.
Those are great.
As well as my Not Doom, my beer install floppies.
See, I think that one's great.
Yeah.
I think you should probably do
these will stay for a very long time.
Maybe more parody, computer based, video game themed something or other.
I'm thinking more parody. And so I don't know if I want to do like a floppy disk coaster with like Wolf 3D like in Sharpie scrawled across the front of it, like a bootleg disc. Like I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that could be good.
I don't know if I want to go like I'm looking for some different design directions to go. And what's really fun is Laser does inherently monochromatic designs, and a lot of my design work tends to be monochromatic. And so I speak the same language that lasers already speak in my brain, in my mind's eye, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's how do you revamp and which direction do you go? And do you go like bottle openers in case of DNS? Do you lean into some more stuff like this? Do I have new bottle openers that says it was DNS? I've thought about doing different bottle openers that have all of our different IT fears in them. It was Active Directory. It was QuickBooks. It was Intuit.
Oh yeah.
It was like starting to call out companies for like the headaches that they give IT people. I've thought about that as some future designs. Duke Nukem Flask, that could be fun. Do some old DOS games. The problem is I don't inherently have rights, and so whatever I come up with would have to be a parody.
It has to be a parody. Yeah, you have to do something like
the beer coaster is a Creative Commons licensed font that is licensed for commercial use, that is inspired by the Doom logo, that I still had to modify to get the R to stretch like this. And so I took the font and then modified it to be in the same shape as the Doom logo. And I think it looks freaking fantastic. But if I wanted to do more things like this, it would still have to fall into parody. Because the beer in the Doom logo is a parody of Doom. And even though I copied the text almost verbatim, it's created by Craft Software, copyright 2017 Craft Computing, to install beer, type install and press enter. Well, it was to install Doom, type install and press enter. So and this is the registered version, not the shareware version. I do want you to know, although floating around in the ether, I have 2 sets of coasters that are actual Doom install discs 1 through 4.
You know what? Okay, so
someone in the Discord and the YouTube chat has them.
You have Craft Computing, the word craft in there. We also have early Blizzard games, StarCraft, Warcraft. There's a crossover there. The Warcraft logo kind of has that etched old world looking thing. You can do Craft Computing or something like that. Tech and beer, something like that. I don't know.
I have to show you another product that I've shipped to a couple people.
Okay.
And it is a large coaster. It is a 10 by 4 inch coaster.
There you go. Oh yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So this is one of my offcuts, because the laser flaked the surface of the slate a little bit. This is an original design. This is not like a Photoshop of a card or anything like that. I actually recreated the geometry, including the fan grill design that's behind the fan in the blow-through design of this GPU.
Oh yeah.
Which makes it a lot of fun. Someone suggested Beercraft.
I think Beercraft is a good one.
Here's one of my Doom coasters.
Yeah.
I can't sell this one because it contains not my IP.
It contains the words. Yeah, you're Doom. Yeah.
But I did.
But Beercraft would work, because instead of like Warcraft, do Beercraft.
Beercraft would be a lot of fun.
That would be a good one. That would be a good one.
I could do Beercraft. Elmo says his is better. Yes. So for these particular people, Yakto in the chat likes to use graphics cards as coasters, and so I created him the RTX Drink Super. Skull, one of my Discord mods, likes to use coasters for his cereal bowls. And so he has the RTX Cereal Super. And then Elmo in the chat and on the Discord is not much of a beer drinker, but absolutely loves wine. And I will say I'm a huge wine drinker myself. I love a good Cab Sauvignon. Or a good barrel wine blend or red blend. Not so much on whites, but I am so sold on reds. So he has an RTX wine super with this design on it. So maybe I'll start selling these because I think these could be a lot of fun.
Video card ones. That'd be good. Yeah.
Now these are expensive. They're
$22
a coaster.
Oof.
But these are actually sold online as charcuterie boards.
Oh, there you go.
And so you lay out your meat and cheese platters on this. And so maybe I'll make an RTX charcuterie.
I love a charcuterie, but I don't know what the crossover to charcuterie is with your audience.
I don't either. Or maybe I just keep it to the RTX drink super.
Yeah.
But yeah. I do need to send one to my NVIDIA rep, though. I think he would genuinely appreciate it.
Press a second. Yeah. On the Discord, Skull already found a Beercraft image.
Oh, Balatro? Yeah. I need a Balatro one. I will look at it and I will see what I can come up with. The craft slicing kit. The RTX Pickle Beer Super.
The Jeff endorsed pickle brand pickle.
How about the RTX Cheese Super? So you can get like the charcuterie.
There you go.
Inspired
cheese.
Yeah.
Could get a little cheese slicer on top of it.
Include a cheese knife or something like that.
Yeah.
Rich texture meats. Yes. The internet is for beer? Yeah, Ian, try to keep up. You thought the internet was for porn. No.
It's for beer. It's for beer.
That's right. The pickle beer one has to be designed like an A5000. I hate you when you're right, Yakto. I really, really hate you when you're right. So yeah. I enjoy talking shop. I really do. It's fun to... Area Tech and Oregon is known for cheese. We are known for our cheese because Tillamook is an Oregon company.
Tillamook. Oh, yes. Now, that's another thing.
Your Wisconsin bullshit.
Yeah, screw that Wisconsin stuff.
I've had Wisconsin cheese. It's mid at best.
I remember I work with a lot of people who are in they live in Tennessee. They live over in Nashville. And they just got Tillamook cheese, I think last year.
Yeah.
Over there. And I was in a meeting with them and they're like, "Oh, have you ever tried this Tillamook cheese? It's wonderful. It's like the best stuff I've ever had." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's whatever. I can take it or leave it. I can just go to their factory and pick up whatever.
It's there.
It's there. Yeah."
Where is my... It should be in here. Hold on. Hold on, I'll get it there. Firefox, just once. Where is Cat Computing? I actually have an official Cat Computing logo.
There you go.
Maybe I will do a line of cat computing merchandise. I will do some cat computing coasters and whatnot. I also have one where he's knocked the monitor over.
That's a better one.
That's a better, yeah.
No, at least he's knocked like maybe a beer glass over or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You have the beer glass in the monitor and have him knock the beer glass in the monitor over.
Yes. Yeah, something like that. But no, I have an official cat computing logo. So there. Jesse says I prefer Wisconsin cheese, but I'm in Wisconsin, and I get that.
Yeah.
But when I landed in Green Bay and I was offered cheese curds as if they were a gift from God, and I went, I've had better.
Yeah. Oh man, dude.
Eh.
Those garlic white cheddar cheese curds that they have at the Tillamook Cheese Factory. Oh my god, dude.
And I mean no offense. And I'm sure your cheese is wonderful. Because your taste develops with your local style, and you always like the things that are around you that you grew up with. Like that's where your taste comes from. To me, Tillamook cheese is just better.
Yeah, that's the same thing with White Castle. Like I had never had White Castle in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, White Castle's the great. I love White Castle. Finally went and had a White Castle burger. And it's like, this is not good.
Bob's Burgers is better.
And I'm like, okay, I can get if a person grew up around always eating White Castle, how they would think that White Castle is great. But it's not that great.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Can we talk about Wahlburger?
Oh my God. That was, yes, please. Let's talk about Wahlburger.
Mark Wahlberg's burger restaurant that there were like 3 of them in Vegas on the Strip. And I kept seeing recommendations for him. Like we'd go like, what's to eat around here? And it's like, oh, you can go
Wahlburger. Yeah.
You can go full chain. Like you can go to like Applebee's or whatever else. Or then there's a Wahlburger like right here. And finally, Thursday afternoon, I think.
Yeah. Thursday afternoon. No, it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday? Okay.
Yeah.
We're like, screw it. I've never been to a Wahlburger. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's got to be good, right?
Right.
The most bland, generic. It's Mark Wahlberg going, I'm a burger.
That's it. It was so bland.
Mark Wahlberg trying to be a character actor.
Yeah. And it would be forgiving if it was just maybe one thing on the menu that tasted like that. But we had completely different things. And both of them were just very bland, mild, generic foodstuffs.
You walk in and it's nothing but Mark Wahlberg posters for different movies on the walls and Divorce Dad radio playing on the speakers. Look at this photograph. And like it was nothing but Metallica and Creed.
Yeah.
And you can continue the line from there. Like some of those bands are good, some of them are not good. And but that was all the music was just like the top 5 hits of Divorce Dad rock.
Yeah.
And you sit down and it's like, yeah, I want a burger and I want a beer. Like you would say, like Mark Wahlberg. And they're like, okay, well, we have a Miller Lite and a Coors Light and a Bud Light and some fancy beverage called a Stella Artois. And
well, they did, to be fair, they did have a beer there that was brewed specifically for their restaurant.
For Wahlburger, yeah.
For Wahlburger. And I got it. Again, the most generic tasting craft beer you can think of. Not wowing, not offensive, but nowhere near being good.
It was like a 6.5% pale or something like that.
Yeah, it was so mid.
And it was like, this has hops.
It's a beer.
It's a beer.
Yeah.
It's technically alcohol. It was fermented at some point. And I think at that point I was so tired I had a Sprite.
Yeah.
And then you got a burger and I wasn't super hungry, so I'm like, let me get an appetizer. Let me get like a I got a loaded
like a
tot casserole combo.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a barbecue chicken tot thing.
Barbecue chicken tots. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was literally tater tots that you get from Costco that had been deep fried, mind you.
Nice. That's nice. Yeah.
Which is
Not
nice.
Baked. A little crunchy.
With, I guess, enough chicken meat that you get out of a single wing.
Mm-hmm.
With some pico de gallo on top of it. And like a half shot of Baby Ray's barbecue
sauce with it. Yeah.
And it was like a thing that was like this tall.
Yeah.
So like 6 inches tall, like it came in a like an eatery bowl, and it's like, okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, it's not that it was bad. It's just that it was so generically bland.
Yeah, it was so mid.
There was nothing remarkable about it. It was fresh chopped onions. The onions were the best part about it. They absolutely were. The fresh chopped quartered onions.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm stating that the fresh chopped onions were better than the barbecue sauce in a barbecue chicken tot should tell you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, I know. It was just so weird how bland everything was. It's just like so mid. It's like I would almost prefer Denny's, because then at least I'd be offended.
Right.
At least I'd have an emotion.
Justin says Whataburger is pretty good, but In-N-Out is still better. I've had both In-N-Out and I've had Whataburger. I prefer Wendy's. Between the three, I'll take Wendy's.
Wendy's generic menu is better than In-N-Out's generic menu, but I think In-N-Out's secret menu beats Wendy's menu.
I would say that's fair.
Yeah.
But then why not advertise the menu?
I don't understand. I think that's part of the draw. Like, everybody knows the secret In-N-Out menu, but they never advertise it, and I think that's kind of part of the draw.
Yeah.
With In-N-Out. So.
Yeah. No, I've had Whataburger. It's fine.
That's fine.
I've had In-N-Out. It's fine. I don't see how it's better than Wendy's or Carl's Jr. I just flat out don't.
You have to go to the, well, it's not a $6 burger anymore, but if you get to the $6 burger, the upper echelons of the Carl's Jr., then yes, I would agree.
Oh, trust me, I am a fan of they call it the charbroiled burger now.
Yeah, is that what they call it now?
Yeah, it's the $9 burger. But it was the $6 burger when it cost $4.49.
Yeah, I know.
Because it was a $6 restaurant style burger, and they were trying to compete with Red Robin, and suddenly inflation went like, oh shit, that's $8 now.
Yeah, Carl's Jr. high-end burgers are pretty good, but their generic cheeseburgers are just there.
Double Western bacon cheeseburger, and if you have not done their breakfast lately, get a breakfast burger. Tomorrow morning.
I have not.
Tomorrow morning. I want you to promise me. Tomorrow morning.
Carl's Jr. is not that far from here.
It's not. I know where Carl's Jr. is.
Yeah, you know where it's at.
I want you tomorrow morning before 9 o'clock when breakfast closes.
Okay.
I want you to go to get a breakfast burger and report back.
Okay. I want to see what's on it.
It is...
That looks good, actually.
It is bacon, egg, burger, barbecue sauce with their round tater tots.
Mm-hmm.
On top.
I see it.
It's straight fire.
All right.
It is so good.
All right.
It's the Western bacon on steroids because they added egg and potato to it.
I do like egg and potato on it. I do like egg and potatoes on these.
Go get yourself a breakfast burger.
Okay.
Yeah.
By 8:30 tomorrow, or 10:30, I guess it looks like.
Yeah.
Breakfast served until 10:30.
Yeah. Your homework for next time is to get yourself a breakfast burger and report back. Although I want you to report back to the Discord tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, Five Guys is good but too expensive. Yeah, Five Guys is a tier up from where we're talking.
Yeah.
Because on that regard, we also have like Killer Burger. We had a place here in Portland called Wow Burger a number of years ago.
Yeah.
That was... I took
they
Steve
were good.
There.
They were really good.
For a
yeah,
long
they were awesome. Yeah,
yeah
I think they're gone now, though.
They are gone. They walked in Monday morning with chains on the doors, a la Sherry's.
Yeah.
No, Steve and I were actually going to go to a Wow Burger and ended up at McMiniman's in Wilsonville.
Yeah.
For lunch one day because we're like, oh, they're
They're gone
closed.
now. Whoops.
Yeah. Dang it! Now I'm hungry again. You're welcome. I'm hungry too, which is why the conversation shifted to food. I have a whole pizza waiting for me upstairs. By the way, hashtag not sponsored. The epitome of hashtag not sponsored, but I want to share. Domino's right now is running a national coupon where any pizza, any size, $10.
Yeah.
Any pizza, any size, any number of toppings, $10. I bought 4 pizzas tonight and a side of Parmesan bites for my family.
Dude.
For my family
Those Parmesan
of
bites
6
are
that lives
so
here.
good. Those Parmesan bites are ridiculous.
They are so freaking good. But I have 6 people living in this house. I bought 4 large pizzas for $40.
That's not bad. That's great. You'll have leftovers too.
Yeah. So I have a whole pizza just to myself upstairs. So, yeah. Whopper patty is also good. The problem is Whoppers are like $12 now.
I know. They were so... Well, you go Whopper Wednesdays, it's more reasonable. You go on a Wednesday, I think it's like $4 or something like that.
Burger King and McDonald's are completely off limits to me anymore.
Because it's like I want something there. Yeah, because it's too expensive for what they offer. Unless it's on sale, I would get something cheap.
I went there because it was cheap, not because it was the best food I've ever had.
Right.
And
it's pretty good for the price, but when the price went up, it has to be on sale before I'll get
when I could get 2 Whoppers for $6, I went,
that's
perfect. 2 Whoppers for $6.
That's great.
Sign me
awesome.
up. Sign me up and give me a drink. I'll give you $9. I don't care that the drink is $3. That's still a great value for 2 burgers and a drink. And they did away with that, and now it's 2 Whopper Juniors. Oh, it's 50% of the meat.
And I think they shrank the Whopper Junior.
They shrank the Whopper Junior too.
They're way smaller now.
Yeah,
they're like way smaller now.
The other thing that they did, because I used to go in there and I'd be like, I'm a little bit hungry. I want to spend $4. I want 2 Western or 2 rodeo burgers, which is 1 patty, a little bit of barbecue sauce, and 3 onion rings on a bun.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Western. That's a rodeo burger.
Yeah.
They used to sell those for 99 cents.
Yeah, used to.
I would get 2 of those. I would get a value onion ring and a value drink. $4.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That meal's $12 now because the rodeo burgers are $2.79.
That's ridiculous now. It's
and the burger patties themselves are smaller.
Yeah.
And I went, no. And I haven't been back to Burger King since. And McDonald's did the same thing. I never liked McDonald's anyway. I would go there for breakfast, and if I was forced to eat there afterwards, I would get like a 20-piece McNugget. 20-piece McNugget is like $8 now. Their breakfast used to be pretty reasonable because you can get like a biscuit sausage egg thing for like $2 or $2.50.
Just the standard McMuffin,
that's
which I think is good.
Now.
It's like, I know. It used to be like $2.
Yeah.
At $2, I could do $2.
It used to be $2. It's $5.50 now.
Yeah.
I went,
that's too much.
Nope.
I can make it at home. I could literally make the exact same thing of an egg McMuffin at home, tastes exactly the same, and it cost me like maybe $1 in materials altogether.
Well, now the egg is $1 by itself. So
okay, that's okay. The egg's a little bit higher now, but yeah, that's true. But yeah, I could make an exact. In fact, I can make it slightly better because I can take the English muffin and toast it with butter on my oven top, and it just ends up being that much better.
I will say, not a pickle. Love the name. Love the name. Sends over a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Off work late, but glad I'm able to catch the live stream. Cracking a Bourbon County from 2022.
Ooh, nice.
Standard Bourbon County, or do you have one of the specialty bottles? That's what I want to know.
Actually, I have a Bourbon County from 2022, just the standard one in my cellar.
I still have 1 or 2 of my original 2020s. Then I have a 17 proprietors in the fridge still.
Oh, nice.
I'm running low on Bourbon Counties, although I do have 2 of the anniversary ones up here.
Oh,
they're
nice.
on the shelf because they're aging.
Yes.
Because my office stays below 70 all the time.
Well, you have to because as long as it's a dark bottle, that's fine. But you have to keep the light out of it.
It's a dark bottle, and the only thing in front of it is an LED Edison bulb that's like 3 watts.
Yeah, it should be fine.
which is not penetrating that bottle.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm actually running low on bourbon counties lately. I do have a 2024 in the fridge. I have a couple 2024s, but I'm saving those. I was advised to age those for about a year. Because
the 2024s?
Yeah, the 24s felt a little young. Like the 23s were good out of the gate. The 22s were a little young. The 21s were good out of the gate. The 2020s were phenomenal out of the gate. And even better aged.
Yeah. At this point, I just age my bourbon counties. I'm just like, I'll just get one. I'll either buy it pre-aged or I'll get it and then sell it.
When I see the bourbon counties come up, I usually buy 4 of them and I open one right away. Just
to test to see what it's like.
If I go down to my bottle shop today and they had bourbon counties there, I would buy 4 of them. I would crack open a 2024 tomorrow to see where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then I would base the time that I age it from there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, almost all fast food places are franchises now. Yeah, it really sucks. Unless you're Dick's up in Seattle.
There's Dick's.
We do have the world famous Five Guys knockoff in Oregon called Nancy Joe's.
Nancy Joe's isn't bad.
Nancy Joe's isn't bad, although it is, again, a tier up from your traditional fast food. It's $16 to $20 for a burger instead of, $9 to $12.
Actually, okay, I went to the Nancy, because there's a Nancy Joe's in my town. It was, the regular cheeseburger was $9.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's like almost the same level as a Whopper now. Actually, they didn't really raise their prices that much.
I haven't been there for a little while. Maybe I'll give them a shot again.
Yeah, give them a shot again.
Yeah.
And we also have our Northwest staple of Burgerville.
Yes.
That's gotten really expensive as well.
Can I make a very unpopular thing? I know Burgerville is like a local hero and they use Tillamook cheese and everything. They've always been mid to me.
Their regular, okay. Burgerville to me is like other people's White Castle. Their standard cheeseburger with the slice of cheese and their Burgerville sauce. Not amazing, I'll grant you that. But something nostalgic about it for me makes me want to get 2 or 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Onion rings are fantastic.
Oh, their Walla Walla onion rings.
Their Walla Walla onion rings,
fantastic.
Chef's kiss. Yes. Freaking amazing. I will go there just for the onion rings.
Yes.
Their burgers, mid.
Yeah.
Mid tier.
Oh, I remember that one time we went there for breakfast, and that was quite honestly very mid.
That was awful.
Yeah.
It was not very good. Yeah. Yeah, there was one in Vancouver when we were going to PDX land. We went there for breakfast one day, and I was not impressed.
Yeah. Well, you got the breakfast burrito, and I just got the breakfast sandwich. And the breakfast sandwich was, honestly, I would have gone for an Egg McMuffin instead because that was flavor. And you said you did not like your
I didn't like
breakfast
the burrito
at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And as a connoisseur of breakfast burritos from a number of different establishments.
Oh, yeah. I make better breakfast burritos.
Yeah. The OG San Diego Taco Company. I don't know if the West Coasters remember them.
Mm-hmm.
There was one in Canby. They were right next to the 24-hour fitness, which was the funniest goddamn thing ever.
Yeah, I know.
San Diego Taco Company made breakfast burritos the size of your forearm.
No, we're good.
Like my forearm, you take this section of my arm right here, and you just wrap it in a flour tortilla and grill it. And it's filled with egg and sausage and ham and cheese and all kinds of goodness. It's not hard to make a breakfast burrito, and somehow Burgerville screwed that up.
Yeah, I don't understand how they do that. Because they use good ingredients, so...
Yeah.
Maybe they're like Wahlburger, they're just like not seasoning things. I don't know.
Yep. I can see Jeff getting a burger for the after party. No, I've got a full pizza upstairs.
He's got a full pizza. I'm actually making myself a burrito after this.
Well, seeing as how it's almost been 3 hours. We've just been talking forever, mainly because no one's leaving.
Well, we started talking about fast food and they're like, oh, I know this.
So what's really funny is at 6:30 we peaked at 227 viewers, which is pretty darn good, actually.
That's not too bad.
Like, we'll talk a little shop, and there was a little lull trending towards 7 o'clock, and we finished talking about the 5090s at 7 o'clock, at 7:04. I looked at the clock. because I felt like we were starting to go a little long, and I went, we need to move on to the next story. And then someone also suggested, hey, I'm really interested in the 9070. And I went, tell you what, we'll open the next beer and then we'll talk 9070. And traffic picked back up, and we hovered at like 210 until 8 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock, we went down to 185, and we've held 185 since then. And 185 is still above my average.
It's the fast food talk. We gotta
yeah, hot fast food talk here on Craft Computing.
Yeah.
Now everyone's hungry. Everyone's gonna patron their local Domino's and or Carl's Jr.
That's what you got to do. You got to do like instead of like what are the order meals from home type of a thing. You got to do a Craft Computing order meals.
Yeah, Craft Dash.
Craft Dash. There you go. Craft Dash.
Terrapuff says, Craft, that's mean. Get everyone hungry and run. I see. Yeah, that's kind of my style. Dude.
That's how it works.
Also, Chris says, hey, Craft, what about Craft Burger for the second business? That'd be my third business because OpenViro is my second business. Yeah. Although I have kept conversations open with Mr. Hops and Brews about potentially eventually opening a retail establishment in which we do burgers and beer and steak and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not saying no to that.
Is Ian still online? It's like breakfast for him right now anyway.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ian finally got offline, seeing as how it's 5 a.m. for him.
As I said, it's breakfast for us.
Yeah, yeah. First breakfast at that.
Yeah. And for second breakfast, an hour later.
Terrapup says, I live in freaking country. Everything closes at 9 p.m. I apologize.
Yeah.
David says, are you using any AI in your channel? None at all. Yeah. I have, 1%. I don't use AI for any regular content. And if anything is ever AI, you will know about it forthright. I have done a couple ads that I've done on the channel where I've done AI generated backgrounds based on prompts. And then I did a full video explaining how I did that because I thought it might be interesting with virtual sets and virtual production. Because that's something I'm very interested in. Virtual production, like in-camera effects, but filming in a virtual studio. I'm very, very interested in how that technology is evolving since the Mandalorian and the geodesic dome and things like that. And I want to be able to do some of that kind of stuff myself. And that's actually a long-term goal of the channel, is to be able to project an image behind me and become part of that scene. If not for regular videos, just for like advertisements, like putting myself somewhere I don't belong, to be able to do things like that.
Without green screening. No green screening.
Does AI write my scripts? No. Does AI do my reviews? No. Everything you hear on this channel is 100% from me. Inside, nothing else. And that will always be the way I do it. Tech Potato, I use AI voice filters. I haven't done that yet. Typically, if I need a voiceover, I'll just come sit down at this desk, which is the microphone that I use for my production anyway, in the same environment, with the same settings, with the same mixer, piped into the same computer. And then record a line that I need to insert into a video. I've done that a couple times. Sometimes it's not the same voice because your voice changes over a 24-hour period dramatically.
Especially if you talk a lot.
But I will just sit down and I will re-record a line if I need to. And that's way faster than training 11 on my voice. Probably not easier at this point, actually, now that I think about it. But if I got a local tool that would train my voice and then respond with the same voice back, like I might use some AI for voiceovers. I've thought about doing that before. My J.K. Simmons was pretty good. Thank you. One day we'll catch that Spider-Man.
Are you
Bring
serious?
me Spider-Man. Yeah, no, I'm glad that people picked up that I was doing a J.K. Simmons impression, because I freaking love that voice. What? No. Our users are no longer satisfied with artificial intelligence. We need something bigger, something better. We need ludicrous intelligence.
Yeah.
What did we learn, Jackson? I guess we learned not to do it again. All right, then. Bring me more pictures of Spider-Man. You're good, but we're watching. I appreciate that. Keep me honest. I like honesty in media, and honesty shows through everything else. So I don't mind people keeping me honest. I am a creator, I am an artist, I am a musician, I am everything that AI seeks to destroy. And I will fully admit that I'm interested in AI as an augmentation tool. I am not interested in AI in doing the work for me. And if I ever do that, feel free to stop watching, because I've sold out. But that won't ever happen. LGR is Duke Nukem. He has a way better Duke voice than me. Clint has the best Duke Nukem voice of all time.
Don't have time to play with myself.
I don't have time to play with myself. Holy shit. Yeah.
Oh, man. It's 9 o'clock already.
LGR has a great Duke Nukem voice. I've talked to Clint a couple times online. I really need to meet up with him at some point, because I feel like him and I would really vibe well.
I love his channel. It's great.
LGR is one of the OGs that has just managed to keep going, and is always... It's like, oh, LGR posted a video 3 minutes ago. Click. There goes half hour. I'm in.
Oh,
Let's go.
It's like, oh, I had that.
There's only a couple channels that can do that to me. LGR is one of them. Grindhard Plumbing Company. If you guys have not heard of Grindhard Plumbing Company, they're out of northern Idaho, and they do some wild with cars and mini bikes and trucks and mini trucks and all kinds of different things. They are one of my favorite watches ever. Like, I will always watch what they do. Rev says, Northern Idaho, you say? Yes. Yeah. Rev, look up Grindhard Plumbing Company. I bet you live within an hour of them. Sean says, I hope you're not all out of gum.
Well, the Kick-Ass and Chew Bubblegum line, that was originally They Live. That was from... Duke Nukem ripped that off from They Live. But
yeah. But I digress.
I think that Duke Nukem delivered it better, to be quite honest.
I'm here to kick ass and chew gum, and I'm all out of gum. I don't have time to play with myself.
Yeah.
Shake it, baby.
Shake it, baby. I was just going to say that.
Yes.
Shake it, baby.
You want to dance?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Roddy Piper was in They Live, and he's a Portland native. Or he was. He passed away a while ago.
Pretty sure I saw Grindhard Plumbing Company open for the Bare Naked Ladies in 2003. All right, that's pretty funny. Rev says she's more like 45 minutes. They're in Sandpoint. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they do a whole bunch of crazy things that... barring garage space, I would be right there with them. And I don't know if you'd ever see me doing craft computing content again, so long as craft computing continued to pay the things that I want to do with cars and mini bikes and things like that. I'm here to kick names and take ass. And I'm all out of names. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been episode 369 of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Drop this video a like. Do all the engagement things. Leave a comment below. Let us know what was your favorite part of the show. Tell you what, let us know what is your tier list for fast food?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
Fast
what I
food
want
tier
to
list.
know.
Yeah.
Because I kind of half disclosed mine, but I want to know what your tier list for fast food is. And you can go everything from chain to local to sit down restaurant to actual fast food. So make sure to include like your Denny's and your White Castle in with your In-N-Outs and McDonald's. Like
I can't think of any one fast food that I would even put on S tier. I can't think. Wendy's might come close.
Wendy's is close.
Might come close.
Wendy's is A tier, and they're the only A tier. I can't put them S, but they're damn close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let me know what your S through F tier is for fast food or like quickly delivered burgers and things like that.
Fast food place, yeah. Can't go Five Guys level.
Yeah.
Has to be fast food.
Jeff's favorite is Applebee's. That's a whole other conversation, which we will get into in the after show, which you can get access to by subscribing to the Patreon and joining the Discord. See what I did there?
That's right.
Discord access is only $1 a month. Access through patreon.com/craftcomputing. Link in the video description, and helps keep the lights on around here and gets you access to be able to chat with us throughout the week, as well as the awesome community that hangs out over there. No Chick-fil-A fans? I like Chick-fil-A, but you know, I go burger more than breaded chicken.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I like Chick-fil-A. I think they're overpriced for what they are.
I got to be in the mood for breaded chicken. And sometimes even at burger joints, I will get breaded chicken. We have a gosh, what is the Hops and Drops? You ever had?
Oh yeah, Hops and Drops.
Yeah, Hops and Drops. It was a Washington, like Port Orford kind of franchise that's branched out, and they actually have a spot in Kaiser now.
Yeah.
And they make some phenomenal burgers. They also make one of the best jalapeno chicken sandwiches I've ever had in my life.
And I think I've told you this before, one of my pet peeves, especially when it comes to fast food chicken sandwiches, because they always have a spicy chicken sandwich, and their version of a spicy chicken sandwich is always, I put extra pepper on there, and that's it.
Yeah.
I want something with a kick to it. I want something good.
Their jalapeno chicken sandwich, you feel twice.
Okay, good. I like those.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds I like. I want it to hurt me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the pepper jack and the mozzarella and a little bit of jalapeno mixed in. It's not like the hottest thing I've ever had, but it makes you understand that you're having something you probably shouldn't.
Oh, okay. That's my kind of chicken sandwich.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the show. Thank you all so much for watching and staying around for 3 hours.
For an extra hour.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Latest in beer and tech news. And as always, we will see you next week.
Right. See you guys.
Cheers, everyone. And oh God, do I need to pee.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had to do it in the middle of it. There's no way I could have let go.